So hey anime fans, the series name is What If God Like Naruto Went Into Marvel Universe, so this is second part of the series. So let's start the series. Everything around Naruto looked like it had been subjected to a nuclear-sized explosion. The environment came across as the definition of ruin. Lines of buildings were broken in some fashion. There were trenches torn in the earth large enough to fit a yacht through, and even stretches of forest were toppled, leaving only toasted roots. The source of this wanton destruction was the same blond man with a trickle of blood dribbling down the corner of his mouth. His shirt was gone and exposed the hard-won body of an active ex-shinobi. Even his pants were ripped to leave ragged edges beneath his knees. Naruto looked exhausted with his heaving shoulders because he was exhausted. But it was a good kind of fatigue, fulfilling. That last attack drained what was left of my energy. I have to be careful if I need to use it in a real fight. The raw power of the move couldn't be questioned. But what good was it if he couldn't defend himself after? Naruto wasn't in the business of chasing after Pyrrhic victories. Naruto punctuated his comment by smearing the blood on his chin with his left thumb. He took the blood and used it to paint a Fuinjutsu's sigil on the ground at his feet. When he stepped on it, Naruto found himself sitting in the empty room in his apartment. He was back in his meditation chamber. Comparing the results, he pulled his phone out of his pocket and looked at the time. He was happy with what he saw, but Naruto knew he could do better. There was something to be said about self-improvement teetering on perfectionism. 24 hours in my training dimension is 4 hours here. I should look into tinkering with the seal when I get time. I bet I can improve that ratio, maybe knock it down to 2 hours instead of 4. Any potential plans ended when the phone went from screensaver to incoming call. Naruto looked at the foreign number for a second, then brought it to his ear, clearing his throat. Uzumaki. Naruto speaking. Who is this? Hello, Mr. Uzumaki. My name is May Parker. I apologize for calling unannounced, but a mutual friend pointed me your way. The words coming through the speaker surprised and intrigued the blonde. Mutual friend? He had to wonder who this friend was, and what could they have possibly said about him to warrant a phone call. Yes, it was Mr. Angelo from the drive-in diner on 66th Street. The woman on the other end of the conversation was kind enough to give Naruto the information he wanted. She also eased any suspicion in the one-time special forces. Ah, good, old Tommy, he likes to listen. Okay, so what can I do for you, Ms. Parker? Visuals of a man old enough to have gray hair came to mind. He was as close to a classic Italian as Naruto could find in the year 2023. A good man who made better food. That's not necessary, please call me May. I was wondering if you'd like a job, Mr. Uzumaki? Naruto, if you would? Over the phone, it was tough to pick up his slight pause. Naruto doubted she was offering him a job like his last one. People like Electra weren't necessarily frequent. Not like he could talk about being different. Can you tell me more about this offer? Of course. I manage a homeless shelter called FEAST, and we're a bit short-handed. Tommy told me a little about you, and I think you'd be a perfect fit here. I'm also willing to pay you bi-monthly. Naruto didn't have to be a master of psychology to hear the pride in the woman's voice, and she had good reason to be proud if this was the truth. Not enough people went out of their way to help their fellow person. The more Naruto thought about it, the more he liked it. May was offering him the chance to do some good. Helping people was just the thing Naruto needed in between training for the inevitable arrival of Thanos. What would you have me do at FEAST if I said yes? Naruto wanted to make sure he'd actually be helpful. He didn't want to get in the way or anything like that, as unlikely as that sounded. I can't give you a straight answer. We do whatever is needed to help the people who walk in. What we do on a Monday might be different from what happens on a Tuesday. That made a lot of sense to the young man. Seeing no reason to deny her, Naruto agreed to the job offer. I understand, I'm in. So when do you want me, May? Fantastic. Thank you so much. If it's not any trouble, can you come in for orientation tomorrow? It's no problem at all. I'll see you there. Starting on a Monday sounded like the perfect time to begin his new career as a member of the FEAST team. Right. I'll send the address and hours to your phone. Goodbye, Naruto. See ya, May. Once Naruto got the information May promised through his phone, he decided on a trip. He planned on checking the building out. Knowing where the shelter was would help him avoid any mix-ups tomorrow. It wouldn't do to make a poor first impression on his new boss. As Naruto strolled down the building-lined streets of New York, he realized something. It had been so long that he had a hard time imagining the Big Apple as the crowded metropolitan center of the past. Familiarity was a scary thing like that, but he couldn't reminisce on the current state of the world without circling around to Thanos. The looming threat of the purple giant served as both blessing and curse. It was awful knowing he was coming but not when, however. The anticipation of fighting Thanos ended up being great motivation. Naruto never worked harder in his entire life than he had these last few months. The image in his head was Thanos with his double-sided sword when Naruto turned the corner into someone. As a trained warrior, Naruto's sturdy frame absorbed the unintentional impact. He couldn't say the same for the young woman sitting on her rear, accident or not. He felt partially guilty about what happened to her. Sorry about that, a little bit of bad luck, huh? Naruto offered the woman his hand. He noted she looked surprised for a moment before taking his offer. But it was probably just the shock of someone bowling into her on the street. We were both at fault, but I appreciate your apology. Her voice surprised Naruto. She was soft-spoken, but it didn't affect the impact of her words. It sort of reminded Naruto of an actress who could manipulate their voice. However, the whiskered one was sure it was naturally her voice. Throwing on a marginal smile to convey friendliness, he released her hand with a nod. If you're alright, I should let you go about your business, miss. Have a nice day, yeah? Naruto flipped his hips and took up his original route. This time he was stopped, not by the woman's body. No, that honor went to the urgency of her voice. Wait. Blinking, Naruto put on the brakes and turned back around. His eyebrow rode up as a confused frown parked itself on his lips. The question was on his face, but he still asked it verbally. What is it? In the long second they spent staring at each other, Naruto couldn't help but draw comparisons between her eyes and his. They were rather blue. Eventually, she shook her head with an elegant smile. No, it was nothing. You have a good day too. His stupefied blink finally made itself known and didn't stop even when the woman made her graceful exit. After that, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Well, that was pretty weird. FEAST Center, New York. May gazed at their mass supplies with pride and a content smile. Seeing this level of generosity warmed her heart beyond belief. I swear we're getting more boxes every day. I'm glad more people are donating. This is what I dreamed of when I took over here. Easy for you to say. I'm the one dragging all this heavy stuff around. Naruto breathed out his mock complaint between bouts of moving the heavy boxes into their allotted space. He was grateful May invested in the storage garage attached to the shelter. Oh, stop being such a big baby, Naruto. This should be nothing for a young, strong man like yourself. May's words sounded sharp, but the way she smiled during the roll of her eyes sold her out. She was amused with the lively blonde's antics. It was an overstated line, but he was a breath of fresh air. Nope, that's not gonna work. The blonde remained steadfast in his position, not allowing a little flattery to push away the annoyance of mind-numbing physical labor. Shinobi work and civilian work were worlds apart, and in his opinion, the latter really sucked at times. How about we go get some ramen? My treat. May had a firm understanding of Naruto at this point. If he had one glaring weakness, it was ramen, and she wasn't above letting Naruto indulge when it was appropriate. After all, Naruto worked hard for their shelter. He earned a good bowl of ramen occasionally. You're a saint, May, truly a saint. As she expected, Naruto's reaction was nothing short of exuberant, fitted with a small cheer at the end. This is what happened when the blonde Uzumaki got the idea of ramen in his head. The woman in charge laughed at his abundant love for the noodles of Inari. That's what he called them. Her good mood took a turn south when Naruto brought up something more serious. How are you holding up? May understood the question even if it was vague. Lately, Naruto urged her to open up about Peter's disappearance. He correctly claimed it was better than keeping her feelings bottled up. It didn't take long for his stubbornness to wear her down. This place helps. It gives me something to focus my energy on. Peter vanishing hasn't gotten any easier to deal with. But knowing I'm doing something he'd approve of helps me get through the day. It was painfully clear that no amount of time would heal the pain in May's heart. Naruto's heart went out to her. First, she lost her husband, then her nephew in two different yet tragic events. Words couldn't heal this pain, however. The right advice could give the woman hope to keep going. And in time, Naruto hoped May would find something to help her heal. Sometimes, all we can do is put our heads down and move forward. It will get better. It always does. Whatever comment May planned on making was swallowed by the woman when the door flew open. At the same time, Naruto felt a terrible shudder sink into his bones. It was enough to make his entire body lock up for a second. Martin? What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost? Martin or Martinley was a fellow overseer of the FEAST shelter. He was a humble man who was proud of his Chinese background and willing to share it with those curious enough to ask. The shocked disbelief on Martin's face was the kind you couldn't fake. What? You mean you haven't heard? He rushed over to the old box television hanging in the corner and flipped it on. The screen took a moment to warm up before it told Naruto and Mei a story. Mei and Naruto watched a series of still shots cycled through the screen. The reporters spoke, but both were too focused on the chaos to hear them. However, the caption across the bottom couldn't be ignored. The Avengers' Last Stand? Oh my God! While Mei stared at the screen in abject horror, Naruto was already out of the building. He wasted no time dipping into the powers given to him by Freya. As soon as the cloak formed around him, Naruto took to the sky. He had a cross-country trip to make. Battleground, California. For a man sharpened in the flames of World War II, a battleground like this was nothing new for Captain America. It was easier to stay focused on the target when he knew there weren't any civilians in the area suffering from the surprise attack on their base of operations. He'd get even with Thanos by stopping the Purple Brood here. Tony Stark couldn't be bothered with the building. He could have a new one made within the year. Sure, losing their time machine was slightly annoying, but the arrival of his greatest foe compensated for any loss. Now he could save everyone they lost and protect what he gained simultaneously. Thor, current ruler, in name, of New Asgard, saw something different when he glared at Thanos. Not aiming for the head sooner haunted him to this day. His pride wouldn't allow the blonde thunder god to make the same mistake twice. Thor owed the people not here that much. Lesser men thought twice about battling one of the Avengers' big three. But fighting all three of them at the same time? That was downright insane. And yet Thanos sat there with a calm gaze leveled on the three-man unit. Not only did the Stone Hunter have an aura about him, Thanos had a swagger, an absolute confidence in himself and the mission. No one in the grouping of four spoke. The only sounds present in the tense stare-down were the crackling embers and running water coming from broken pipes. This was the only way it could end in absolute ruin. You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. There was a palpable amusement in Thanos' voice as the heroic trio approached him. Splitting his time between the rock and his fingers and the Avengers, he shared his thoughts in a way that didn't fit their somber battle sight. His eyes singled out Captain America simply because he was the one in front of him. I thought by eliminating half of life, the other half would thrive. But you've shown me that's impossible. Thanos almost sounded thankful. The longer Thanos spoke about his mission statement, the more his resolve came through. No one could talk him down, and he believed no one was capable of stopping his destiny. And as long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those unable to accept what can be. They will resist. He wore a ghost of a smile when he turned his poignant gaze onto Tony. The Iron Man stood in silence, staring at the consequences of their time meddling in a glassy-eyed daze. But Tony wouldn't be the snarky, millionaire genius if he stayed silent for too long. Yep. We're all kinds of stubborn. Believe it or not, Thanos actually agreed with Tony. He nodded his bald head before looking off to the side at nothing. Thanos was more attentive to his thoughts than the world around him. I'm thankful, because now I know what I must do. Tossing the rock aside, Thanos got to his feet. The little light that did break the cloud coverage reflected off his armor as he moved. Thanos had the confident gall to turn his back on Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America like they were nothing. He also brazenly ignored how they tensed in preparation. I will shred this universe down to its last atom, and then, with the stones you have collected for me, create a new one teeming with life that knows what it has lost, only what it has been given, a grateful universe. An array of light pinged off Thanos' durable, metal armor as the man beneath it drew his cleaver-like sword out of the ground, not unlike the myths surrounding Excalibur, and despite himself, the planet-jumping murderer couldn't help but smirk as he felt the ire rise around him. Born out of blood, the firmness laced in Steve's voice was reserved for the most dangerous foes, the type of people who had a mind so twisted they genuinely believed the righteousness of their atrocities. They'll never know it. Tony's realization wasn't new, but he felt it needed to be said nonetheless. You're insane, obsessively so. Thanos chuckled in the face of Tony's insult, hardly bothered. He had no issue turning the accusation back on the coalition of heroes opposing him. Oh? Are you telling me you three aren't the same? We're cut from the same cloth in this regard. One by one, he punctuated his thoughts on each man by pointing his massive blade at them. We have the soldier who can't let go of his past, the god prince who won't stop thinking about his failures and shortcomings. Then there's the visionary who is so obsessed over the future, it almost cost him the present. He savored seeing his words seep under Thor's skin. Good, one more push, and he'd be set off. How are any of you different from me? Comparing himself to each of them was the last straw for Thor. Raw lightning coursed through the god and his weapons as he screamed at his most hated enemy. Enough with these games. The heroic threesome tried attacking from all sides. Tony even knocked Thanos' sword down with the vibranium shield, but it didn't work. Thanos swatted both Thor and Steve aside before sending Tony's energy beam toward the sky with the help of his sword. Like any good soldier, Captain America led from the front. Steve launched into a straight-up brawl with the alien giant. He threw punches and knees in equal measure. Laced with a healthy diet of shield-based attacks, however, the moves that worked for literal years weren't enough to make Thanos step back, not one step. He simply absorbed every attack and returned the damage twofold. Sprouting a claw-like receptacle from the back of his smart suit, Tony set Thanos in his sights. All right, Thor, hit me. His body jerked when the god's lightning hit his back and transferred into the power cells with an audible hum. Tony launched a spray of lasers, but Thanos turned in time to spin his blade. The fanning motion protected him from the worst of Iron Man's assault. Preoccupied with defending himself, Thanos couldn't stop Mjolnir from being slapped at him like a baseball. So he did the next best thing. He shrugged off the bursting beam. In one motion, Thanos scooped Tony up. So it was Iron Man who took the brunt of Asgard's most famed weapon straight to the heart. Tony was already unconscious when Steve managed to land a cartwheel kick to Thanos' skull. The super soldier produced enough force to snap the Infinity Tyrant's head down. However, the purple one came back with a straight right hand. Steve blocked most of the punch with his trusty shield but was still sent flying through the debris and rebar. Not letting his guard down yet, Thanos turned to Thor next. With a hurl of his sword, he endeavored to cut the displaced god down mid-charge. Thor's combat instincts were sharp despite his pudginess, which is how Thor slid under the singing blade so easily. But before he could bury Stormbreaker in Thanos' chest, the two-sided weapon returned a la a boomerang and stopped the heavy axe cold. Not letting his guard down for a second, Thanos turned to Thor next. With a hurl of his sword, he tried cutting the displaced god down mid-charge. Thor managed to slide under the singing blade. But before he could bury Stormbreaker in Thanos' chest, the double-edged weapon returned like a boomerang and stopped the heavy axe head cold. Thor managed to perform a clean disarm on his taller opponent with the help of some lightning-enhanced muscle fibers. Unfortunately, Thanos returned the favor. Then he overwhelmed the blonde god with a short punch barrage that ended when Thanos snatched Thor up by his throat. Physically dominating the mighty one like a small child, the Black Order's leader pinned the Asgardian against some rubble. Thor took two concrete heavy punches to the mush unprotected, and while he was loopy from a possible concussion, Odinson got thrown through another thick chunk of broken foundation. His body was already limp when Thanos planted a foot on his chest. Thor tried catching Thanos off guard by calling Stormbreaker to him, but Thanos intercepted the weapon mid-flight and turned it back on Thor. What came next was a test of strength, as Thanos tried jamming the axe into the heart of its chubby owner. A look into Thor's eyes showed that he understood he was losing long before the biting end of Stormbreaker dug into his armor. Odin's last child was saved from the touch of death when Mjolnir flew through the air and nailed Thanos clean between his broad shoulders. It wasn't anything more than a glancing blow, but it was enough to grab the attention of both men. Thanos and Thor saw Captain America with a shield in one hand and a hammer in the other. I knew it! Thor couldn't savor years of speculation coming to fruition because he got curb-stomped into the ground for his lack of attention. This left Thanos and Captain America in a one-on-one. Thanos was still trying to make sense of the new development as he charged the captain. Steve was more than ready to answer the challenge as he spun Mjolnir by the strap at the end of its handle. When the pair finally clashed, Steve struck first with a jumping uppercut from the top of the hammer. A flash of lightning and the boom of thunder rang out as the giant of a man was finally knocked off his feet. Thanos was still trying to get up when Steve sent the shield hurling forward. The vibranium sailed past the massive man, but that's what Steve wanted. He combined the star-spangled disc with Mjolnir to create a shockwave behind Thanos' ear. The shattering impact sent the grimacing menace stumbling forward, still dazed by the attack. Thanos was slow to react as Steve unleashed a furious assault that used his shield and Thor's hammer in perfect harmony. He wielded Mjolnir like he spent years with Mjolnir in his hands instead of minutes. "Help me out here. Let's bring the lightning." Mjolnir answered the call, producing a jolt of lightning that the first Avenger drove into Thanos' chest, crying in pain. The paralysis from the shock dropped Thanos onto his back. Again. With his teeth gritted together in stern determination, he hoisted the hammer toward the heavens. Mjolnir lit up like a beacon, so when Steve dropped the godly weapon, he also called a shining bolt down on Thanos, driving the groaning man into the ground. Gah! The celestial metals of his armor finally shrugged the lightning off, freeing Thanos, and he immediately rolled out of the way of a lightning-charged hammer strike. Before Steve could recover from his miss, Thanos took him by the neck and lifted him overhead for a 10-foot choke slam. And while Thanos bought himself time, he couldn't make Steve release either of his weapons. Pissed off that they did this much damage to him, Thanos grabbed his weapon and crushed his damaged helmet with a snarl. He stomped towards Steve, unleashing heavy swings that ended with him stabbing the American-themed hero in the thigh with a vocal growl. The cry of pain was just as reactive as the hammer swing Steve tried landing in retaliation, but Thanos wouldn't allow it. He caught Steve's wrist and sent the hammer flying away from its new owner. With one bum leg, Steve couldn't do anything more than try and block the hacking aggression of Thanos with his Stark-produced gift. The panic really settled in when he saw the shield ship. It only got worse. Every swing stripped away more of the shield in a shower of raging sparks. Their one-sided slugfest ended with Thanos sending Steve away with a stiff kick to the ribs. Landing on his back with a gasp, the bloodied man didn't even have the energy to lift his shield arm. It was now that Thanos took the time to express his distaste for the Earth and its people. "In all my years of conquest, violence, and slaughter, it was never personal, not from him towards the people being wiped out anyway. The other way around, there were most definitely personal feelings involved. But I'll tell you now what I'm about to do to your stubborn, annoying little planet. I'm going to enjoy it, very, very much." That's when beams of light dotted the ruined site, each one teleporting another section of Thanos' legions to the field. If they were struggling against one man, how could they handle a force of over 100,000? Steve's eyes shrunk from the pain. He showed the haunting look of a man resigned to what came next. However, that didn't stop Steve from meeting his fate head-on, strapping the shield over his sliced forearm. He hissed from the jolt and swallowed the blood in his mouth. "Hey Cap, you read me? Cap, it's Sam, can you hear me?" On your left. Naruto had seen more battle than anyone in his generation, including every battlefield of the last Shinobi World War. So as he gloated over the carnage of the fight below, he was more sad than shocked. He was disappointed it always came to this. He was a moment from blasting one massive spaceship out of the sky when something entered the atmosphere. Naruto looked up at the same time as the ship's cannons. A few of their blasts almost hit Naruto through the cloud covering, making him playfully gasp as he dodged. That was when a golden streak of brilliance plummeted toward the earth. It ripped through the ship like paper, ushering in all the dramatics of a fireball. Naruto felt his hair blow back from the force of the explosion as he whistled to himself. Whoever that is sure knows how to make an entrance. "I can't let them outdo me, can I?" Naruto's excited grin was highlighted by the telltale signs of sage mode forming around his eyes. Meanwhile, his hands held a pair of Rasengan, each the same size as a head from the Hokage mountain. The orb in his right hand glowed white while the other turned a blistering red, wind and fire. The best combo for maximum damage. Ready or not, Thanos. Here I come. Rasen Hogiki. Spiraling bombardment. All anyone heard was a roar of white noise before the world went up in a flash of light. On the Avengers' side of the field, Tony tried looking through his fingers at the blinding light. He was far from successful, hence trying to ask for more information. Who the hell is this? Friend or foe? Steve took the chance to steal a much-needed breath. All we can do is wait and see. The heat on his face made the youthful-looking man scrunch his face up, causing more of his blood to run down his face. Thor's long hair just stopped flapping in the breeze as he tightened his grip around the long hilt of Stormbreaker. "I don't like this. What's going on here?" Black Panther spoke for the entire group that joined the original three. It included himself, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, and Captain Marvel. Apparently, no one knows. Tony couldn't say anything more, not with Peter cutting him off and pointing at the lowering dome of orangish white light. "Look! It's clearing up," None of them counted on seeing a kid stuck in the center of the newly made crater. The blonde's eyes were glued to the equally shocked forces of Thanos as he remained stuck in his superhero landing pose. There wasn't a soul on the battlefield that knew who Naruto was except for one man, and that soldier couldn't stop the surprise from escaping his exhausted body. Naruto? You know the kid, Cap? Carol Danvers was the most worldly of the assembled Avengers. Her time traveling through space showed her things her comrades could never imagine. What impressed the people of Earth weren't things that impressed her, however. The mysterious blonde who clearly packed a punch intrigued her, although Carol felt calling Naruto a kid was a great disservice. He can do that. Don't you think we could have used his help? Forget who the kid was. Tony could get that answer later. He just wanted to know where Naruto was during this whole clusterfuck. I met him once in New York and he didn't show anything like that. Tony, answering both questions in one sentence. Steve didn't forget to defend himself from the accusation thrown at him by his inventor friend. Is he dangerous? Falcon literally dropped in with his own questions. Sam thought some suspicion was natural in his line of work, and right now, Naruto was generating more than some paranoia in the black superhero. Thor's blue eyes hardened over with the mettle of a warrior. At the moment, Naruto looked focused on Thanos, but the son of Odin refused to be caught off guard if things weren't as they appeared. I think it's clear he is dangerous. The question is, what's he doing here? Naruto's base shinobi senses were more than enough to pick up their conversation, even from this distance, so he thought little of looking over to Captain America with a smirk and salute. Hey there. I hope you don't mind, but I invited myself to your little party. Hold on a second. Raising one finger, Naruto turned and caught a lunging Shitori warhound by the face with one hand. He tossed it up, grabbed it by the ankle, and batted away another warhound before burying the first head down in the desecrated earth. There was a calculating look in Black Panther's eyes as he watched Naruto dispatch the enemies swarming him without breaking a sweat. He's strong, unnaturally so. What's going on? Naruto surprised them all when he appeared in the heart of their little group with his elbow perched on Spider-Man's shoulder. The carefree avatar of death ignored the multitude of attacks and weapons being aimed at him. Instead, he stared at Peter with a smirk. How's it going, Peter? Come on, man! Don't blow my secret item. When the words finally clicked in Peter's head, it left the young Parker with an inquiry of his own. Wait, how do you know my name? That's easy. I work for May. Naruto declared with a cheery smile, still foregoing the chaos around him. Better yet, he was dragging Peter into his madness, unintentionally causing the young man to drop his guard too. You know Aunt May? Peter's next question would have been about May's well-being if not for Tony, who couldn't take any more of the insanity in front of him. Wait. Hold on a second. Wonder Blonde, the newcomer to the fight, turned the tables on Tony. Not only did Naruto cut off the world-famous Iron Man, Naruto did it while pointing cheekily at Carol. You talking about me or her? I like him already. Thoroughly amused by Naruto's approach, Captain Marvel essentially gave Naruto her stamp of approval with one statement. She could feel it in her gut. This new guy was a bit of a renegade, just like her. The younger blonde came right back with a face-splitting grin. Naruto's eyes twinkled with joy because he could feel Tony getting super annoyed by the constant sidetracking. Same here, kick-ass entrance. By the way, I thought I saw someone on my way down. Crossing her arms over her suit, the short-haired woman looked at the clouds with a pensive stare. Hey! Can we focus on the important shit here? Who are you, and what are you doing here? His patience came to its end, and in doing so, Tony uttered a word that would have gotten him chewed out if Morgan were here. I believe he's here for me. The unmistakable sound of the Mad Titan's deep voice reminded everyone why they were gathered in the first place. Not that Naruto ever let Thanos out of his sensory range. Mind you, I can't put my finger on it, but you have a familiar feeling to you. It doesn't matter. My purpose is done. The group of heroes tensed as Thanos lifted the gauntlet commissioned by the future him. His vicious smile wasn't a good sign for anyone. A brave few tried rushing the big man even though they would never reach him in time. I am inevitable. Then Thanos did it again. He froze the entire planet with a snap of his fingers. However, it became clear something was wrong. Confused and agitated by the lack of anything, Thanos flipped the gauntlet over and found the gem-holding slots to be empty. What is the meaning of this? Are you looking for these by any chance? Tony felt he earned the right to puff his chest, at least a tiny bit. It's why Tony boldly showed his nanotechnology glove fitted with the same infinity stones Thanos thought were his. But he didn't forget to show appreciation where it was due, namely Naruto. Thanks for the distraction, kid. Inevitable, eh? I can do one better. I am Iron Man. Tony's heart was beating a million ticks a second, but he portrayed nothing but confidence as he lifted the gem-encrusted hand. Now it was Tony's turn to snap his fingers, ignoring the cries from his friends to stop. His snap didn't work either. The befuddled Stark triple-checked the stones before trying again and again. Each time he waited less time in between snaps of his fingers. What the hell is wrong with these things? Come on, you stupid rocks! Sorry to throw a wrench in all of your plans, I'll have to stop you there. When Naruto snapped his fingers, he did it for dramatic effect. He could have released the illusion on the area however he wanted, but this way felt poetic. What was revealed was Naruto holding the real gauntlet. Kid, give me that right now. Tony enjoyed having fun as much as the next guy, but even he knew this was no time for games. He was so focused on the rocks he didn't even care how Naruto tricked them. The sunshine-haired sage brushed Tony off in favor of looking down at the glowing set of 6 stones. I always wondered what it was about these rocks that drove people up the wall. But holding them in my hand, I can see the allure. He plucked the red gem out of the metal hand. In doing so, Naruto caused several nervous shuffles as he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The amount of power pumping through his veins would have been addictive to someone with less self-control. Naruto? What are you thinking? The whisper-like sound of Steve's voice was all the indication one needed to understand his uneasiness. Give me the stones, and I'll spare you in my new universe. This is your only chance. Thanos was far less gentle when he made his demands, but to offer Naruto sanctuary showed how desperate he was becoming. Or it might have, had Naruto actually believed anything the alien said. Ultimately, Naruto decided to ignore them both. He spoke, but not the words his fellow warriors wanted to hear. But what I can't understand is why everyone is stuck on the idea of snapping their problems away. This one gem is capable of so much more, reality itself. A child like you doesn't have the power to wield the reality stone. Thanos barked back at Naruto. Like his enemy in Tony, the son of Titan was losing what little patience he had with this whole debacle. No, not alone, I don't. Something in the air changed after Naruto admitted his human shortcomings. That shift became more tangible as a pillar of white light shot from Naruto to the heavens. Some of the Shitori tried firing on the tunnel of energy, but not even their strongest blasters put a dent in it. After the initial surge of power from his transformation ended, Naruto stood tall in his strongest form with a pair of entirely white eyes. What Naruto wore before was replaced by something completely different. A long overcoat constructed of pale cosmic power fluttered behind Naruto on a non-existent wind. Open down the front, his bare chest was seen bearing a number of archaic tattoos, none more familiar than the Reaper Death's seal that glowed raven on his gut. A gift from death, a recreation from his past life. There were 9 black spheres bobbing in circular orbit around Naruto. Every last one had a swirling white core akin to the Uzumaki clan emblem Naruto wore on the inside of his shirts. Right over his heart, he dubbed these orbs all-killing spheres, Tomogoro Shidama. Naruto's new form was so powerful that it overwrote Earth's gravity in the area around him. The sudden heaviness in the air caused everyone, even the physically strong ones like Thanos and Captain Marvel, to kneel before Naruto. He paid them no mind as he only had eyes for ether and its brilliant, crimson glow. It's a good thing I am not alone then, Mad Titan. The potent source of chaotic energy inside of Wanda was going haywire. It protected her from most of Naruto's presence. But she couldn't find it in herself to move a muscle. What is this power? Perhaps the only one capable of understanding who Naruto communed with to have such power. Thanos shoved his longing so far down it became petty bitterness. Now he knew why the boy felt familiar. It was her. Another hopeless soul chasing death? You're wasting your time, child. Death cares not for you and your trials. Wrong, old man. Death chose me. Naruto carried his smirk with pride as he watched Thanos' eyes twist in outrage. The deviant Titan might have held his tongue, but the pure, emotional angst was there if one knew where to look. With how much time Naruto spent studying Thanos, he had a fair grasp on the massive man's operating procedure. Not unlike Shinobi, he inflicted mental warfare on his foes most times. Thanos won his fights long before the actual combat. People across the universe were so deathly afraid of Thanos that saying his name was a curse. He had his enemies making mistakes that he and his massive army punished swiftly. But unlike other planets, unlike the Avengers, Naruto wasn't afraid of Thanos. Thanos wasn't in his head. Actually, Naruto was 100% sure he was in Thanos' head. Naruto placed the reality-warping rock against his seal. In a flash of light, ether sunk into his body, making his white cloak pulse an angry red. When the assimilation completed, a fluid pattern of ruby coloring circulated through Naruto's white cloak. It almost looked sentient. Ether, you have been awakened. Naruto and his carefree laugh made friend and foe alike nervous. Some of them wondered if he lost it after interacting with the Infinity Stone. You clean up here, Avengers. I will deal with the past. Naruto stomped his foot, creating a red portal under Thanos. Before the lumbering man could move, he was sucked into the trap hole, to the horror of Ma and Proxima, the only two Dark Order members able to fight. Naruto stepped through his own tear in reality without looking back. Naruto's reality. Thanos was dumped into a place he'd never seen. It was foreign because he was in Konohagakure no Sato, Uzumaki, Naruto's childhood home. Out of breath from jumping realities, he needed a moment to find his feet. During this time, the man from Titan surveyed his surroundings for the one responsible for teleporting him. All he found was the village's varied pieces of architecture. It didn't take long for Thanos' eyes to wander toward the massive mountain where Naruto sat on the rock image of his father. What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? The sky screamed around Naruto, generating winds north of hurricane force, and they were made because Naruto merely floated down to greet his guest. It's a question I can't shake ever since I heard of your genocidal mission, Thanos. What did you gain? Power? Glory? The prize of satisfaction? It was my destiny. There was this itch in the back of Thanos' brain. He knew it well. The same creeping madness that plagued him as an unwanted child on Titan. To taste it again was terrifying and addictive. What makes your destiny worth the lives of trillions? What of their own destinies? For Naruto, it always came down to freedom of choice being stolen. Free will was humanity's greatest treasure, and attempting to change that would never sit well with Naruto. Whether Thanos or Kagaya, the blonde wouldn't suffer this kind of scum. Worms, insignificant worms. They should be thankful to be sacrificed in the name of my universe. Thanos' blood ran hot in the veins while he spewed vitriolic thoughts, some more recent than the hate-twisted mementos of his dark past. Naruto took another step forward, putting even more pressure on the monstrous man on the verge of a mental breakdown, and that meant applying pressure, both physical and emotional. You didn't have the right to make that call. The ones with power always make the call. I am the power. Naruto watched with an apathetic eye. A spit flew from Thanos' mouth. Even the Titan's veins were bulging under his primal aggression. No, you had the stones. The stones had power. Without them you are nothing but a man haunted by things you could never have. It's almost sad. Did Naruto have to lay it on so thick? Absolutely not. But Nico's training all but demanded he use Thanos' mental imbalances to his advantage. Shut up. Shut up before I kill you. Naruto replaced Thanos with memories of a young Gaara. Only Thanos didn't have sweet sand powers that nearly turned his limbs into a paste on several occasions. Good old Gaara. Naruto missed him. Where was he? Oh, that's right, he had a few more buttons he needed to push. It always comes back to killing with you, doesn't it? Always doing your best to chase after death. There, that should do it. I said silence. I won't listen to one of death's bitches. Fight me. Fight me. Fight me. Crass language aside, the frothing beast of a man played right into Naruto's hands. He successfully dragged Thanos back to the man who'd attack with the savageness of his tormented soul, not the figurehead of fear. Fine, with the assistance of the Reality Stone, Naruto formed a new sword for Thanos. The only difference between the two was the red taint in the metal from being forged by an Infinity Stone. Thanos immediately lunged after Naruto. He threw slashes so fast the air around him split in half. But Naruto dodged them all with ease. When Thanos went for an overhead, he finally thought he had Naruto, until the sword came down on Naruto's head and broke in half. His shock turned into a hot fury as Thanos flipped to the unbroken half and stabbed at Naruto's heart again. His blade failed him as the sword turned into molten slag when pitted against the cosmic shroud wrapped around Naruto. Thanos cast aside his broken weapon with a look of disgust. Putting his trust in his own hands, he hammered Naruto with a constant flow of fists. The blows that weren't dodged were shrugged off by Naruto. Eventually, He got tired of letting Thanos engage him. Naruto struck back with a punch that doubled Thanos over, then an uppercut sent Thanos into the air, where Naruto flashed behind him and drove the Titan down with his version of the Omote wrench. Naruto waited for his foe to get back up with arms crossed tightly and his cloak fluttering in the wind. With the time graciously granted to him, Thanos managed to pull himself out of the pit, where the blood flowing from a wound in his mouth became clear. Why am I so weak? I was stronger than this. I am stronger than this. Maybe once, but the Mad Titan is nothing more than stones and fear. Here you have no infinity stones. Here there is no fear. In my reality, my universe, you are nothing. No, I am something. I won't disappear like no one. I'm the son of Alers. Thanos, the strongest Titan ever to exist, clutching at the sides of his skull, a visibly shaking Thanos appeared to be yelling at himself, not Naruto. Tapping into a meager portion of the Reality Stone's power, Naruto created a perfect replica of someone familiar to Thanos. Her thick, black hair sat on a flawless, peach complexion. She didn't say anything, but her posture exuded the authority of a queen. What about this woman? Aren't you the son of a mother and a father? Thanos, son of Sway. Pushed to it by Naruto, Thanos harnessed the power of his eternal blood. The raw cosmic power wafting off his fist shattered Naruto's illusion and sent the blonde blasting backward into a building that collapsed on top of him. The rubble shifted about until Naruto emerged from it, cloak still formed. There was a bruise on his jaw, but it healed in less than a second. Only a heartless monster would attack his mother so callously. Despicable. That bitch had it. Naruto shut him up the only way he knew how. By driving his knuckles into the frothing fighter's face. Thanos' heavy body tumbled head over heels until Naruto dropped a heel in his gut. Thanos grunted before mule kicking Naruto in the chest, throwing the cosmic cloak sage into the sky above Konoha. Ha! That's more like it. I want the man who made people fear him, crazy or not. I don't have time for the coward who relied on an army of minions and the combined might of the Infinity Stones. While Naruto relished the chance to fight the true Thanos, Ether wasn't nearly as happy. It made its feelings known by pulsing inside the blonde's seal. Less words and more feelings. Naruto got a gist of what the Reality Stone said and responded in kind, though. It did feel a little weird talking to a space rock. Don't give me that, you're incredibly powerful. But the power isn't mine or Thanos by right. It's why I haven't really used your strength yet. Be patient. Naruto changed one of his all-killing spheres into the shape of a spike that he drove down in an attempt to impale Thanos. His reflexes were sharp enough to avoid certain doom, but not even the Eternal could react in time to the water dragon surging at his face point blank. Before Thanos could blink, the beast sunk its hydro fangs into him and took the Titan off his feet. With its jaws wrapped around the purple Mad One, Naruto's elemental Leviathan smashed Thanos through entire blocks of Konoha's trading quarter. When it became evident punching the beast wouldn't work, the insane warlord turned his focus on Naruto. The discharge of power that fired from the shiny spot on Thanos' forehead caught Naruto unprepared. The cloak saved Naruto from having a hole blown in his chest, but the detonation still nearly grounded him. I heard rumors Thanos had implants, but I always thought they were just that, rumors. The Uzumaki materialized in front of Thanos mid-freefall, using a Shunshin to do the deed. Doton, Chokujugen no Jutsu. Earth release. Super weighted boulder jutsu. Naruto's hands on his body made Thanos grab for the head. However, he found himself barely able to move a finger, and that alone took so much effort it felt like his eye would burst from the exertion he spent trying. Abusing the giant's lack of mobility to land an axe-handle strike, Naruto sent Thanos plummeting into the forests outside Konoha with a dirt geyser on landing. Naruto flew down to join him until an uprooted tree was flung at him. One of the Uzumaki's black and white spheres twisted into a protective plate. When it moved to protect Naruto, not only did it block the tree, it erased the piece of fake nature from the face of reality. Naruto's pupilless eyes snapped to the left, where another beam came screeching in, but another faithful shield stopped the attack in its tracks. His stubbornness paid off for Thanos as he caught Naruto in a firestorm of lasers that forced Naruto to block every direction with his Tomogoro Shidama, with the pinging noise of the blocked blasts in his ears. Naruto tried finding Thanos in the forest. It wasn't going well, which annoyed Naruto to the point of action. Fine, if you want to play hide and seek, I'll smoke you out. Shikuten, Goka Mekyaku. Scorch release. Majestic Flame Destroyer. The buildup of chakra required to pull off the move caused the former shinobi's chest to swell. When Naruto released it, he breathed out a sea of white fire. As soon as the tidal wave of flame hit the forest, it torched the whole thing, creating a massive wildfire any pyro would be proud of. It wasn't enough to stop Thanos, who raged forward and tackled Naruto in the stone-likeliness of the sandane despite the charred chunks of flesh lacing him with agony. Thanos was certain Naruto wouldn't be able to stop him from bashing his brain out against this rock. Thanos was so focused, so bloodthirsty that he failed to see the dark sword coming down on his right hand until the pain of having his forearm severed hit him. Naruto's plans for Thanos weren't finished there. He called upon the might of his first original technique. As soon as the ball of compacted chakra hit Thanos in the chest, the battle-blinded warrior got taken away with a pained scream. Cho Mini Raisin Shuriken. The kinetic energy locked away in that little shuriken was enough to carry Thanos back to the center of the village before it lost form and exploded violently, flying against the headwinds buffering him. Naruto waited patiently for the hissing wind dome to subside. Naruto found what was left of Thanos waiting for him. It wasn't a pretty sight. The once luxurious armor he wore was reduced to scrap that would fall to the ground if Thanos so much as fidgeted. His distinctive purple flesh was littered with bleeding lacerations and charred chunks of decaying skin. The litany of wounds were trying to heal themselves. But the damage inflicted was so extensive that even Thanos' eternal physiology was struggling to keep up. He really did look like shit. Letting his guard down was a mistake. The mentally unbalanced space tyrant proved his act was just that when he sprang at Naruto like a viper. Freya's beloved tried stumbling back. But he couldn't get out of Thanos' reach in time. Thanos only needed one arm to keep Naruto at bay. That left his other hand free to gather deviant energy. He didn't stop until he held enough unnaturally purple power to eclipse the Hokage mountain. A pair of sadistic eyes shone as Thanos slammed his attack into Naruto's chest with a throaty growl. For a time, the landscape of Konoha was given a break from the explosions and destruction. Naruto emerged from the attack with his left arm limp at his side, plus, his wrist was twisted in the wrong direction. Uncomfortably so. While that patched itself up, he stared at the ruined recreation of his childhood home. It looked identical to Konoha when Nagao attacked. A smoking crater devoid of life. It's not real, you're okay. He tried everything from grinding his teeth to squeezing his fists. But none of those little tricks doused the building fury. Naruto tasted a feast of anger in his gut, and this time it wasn't ether. This rage was all him, born from a mental trigger that Thanos unknowingly unleashed. No more restraint, no more holding back. He dies, now. Naruto finally called on the Reality Stone, manifesting it in the form of red chains. All four emerged from Naruto's spine and wavered menacingly over the cloaked fighter's head. The ether chains followed his unspoken command and stretched out for hundreds of miles until they sunk into Thanos with 4 thuds. Naruto felt through the vibrations in his chains. As soon as they were taut, he reeled in his prey, dragged kicking and screaming to a fully repaired Naruto. Thanos had no choice but to kneel before Naruto. You're so hungry for power, then have a taste. Naruto pumped Thanos with so much of the ether's essence that the giant's veins glowed red against his purple skin. However, that was nothing compared to ether's warping touch, disabling every implant and boon of the Titan's genealogy. When Thanos finally started screaming, Naruto made sure to double the amount of ether flowing into the captured criminal's body. Right now, ether is removing everything that makes you special, Thanos of Titan. When it's done, you'll be no one. But I will give you one last reward, an attack no one has seen before. The bottomless pits of white that Naruto called eyes shone like exploding stars, and his white cloak bubbled like an angry cauldron about to overflow as Naruto kept drawing on the power given to him by Freya. Naruto's breathing sped up, but it couldn't be detected over the sound of shattering glass. But this wasn't glass. It was the sound of reality splintering under the exponential presence of Death's chosen sage. I only tried this once. That was when I was calm and in control. Right now, because of you, I lapsed into a memory I abhor, and I'm downright pissed, so for better or worse, I'm gonna put every inch of my power into erasing you from the face of reality. Enjoy these final seconds. They are your last. All 9 of Naruto's orbs shrunk down to the size of marbles before they melded into a singular, palm-sized sphere. Its white nucleus sat trapped in a smooth, black exterior until the circular manifestation began bulging at random intervals. It looked like something trying to punch free from the orb, but it was just power not meant to be controlled, doing its best to escape. Cupping the unstable concoction with both hands, Naruto watched the cluster of cosmic energy float into the sky above them. Uchi no Shurhujitsu, Sutari no Shuin, Cosmic Sage Secret Art, Starry Demise. Behind the clouds, where it tucked itself away, the core of his attack expanded nigh endlessly until it resembled the sun in size. The sheer scope actually brought fear to a helpless Thanos' eyes. And when it could no longer sustain itself, the generated star imploded on itself. Everywhere one looked, shooting stars were crashing down, unleashing a rain of meteors that contained a nuclear weapon's worth of pure cosmic power in each fragmented chunk. And although none of the falling bombs had struck them yet, Thanos' desperation increased as the intensity of explosions ramped up. In fact, one of those falling stars was heading toward him and Naruto. One wore a smile at the impending starfall while the other was doing anything he could to get away from his imminent demise. The end result of Naruto's newest invention was nothing short of total destruction. Thanos, the Reality Stone. Even the reality Naruto created, none of them survived the celestial onslaught unleashed by the Avatar of Death. Freya couldn't be more proud of the young man lying unconscious with his head resting on her thighs, gently massaging Naruto's scalp with her fingers. The raven-haired beauty basked in the chance to spend a quiet moment with her beloved one. Once more, you have kept your promise to me, darling. Freya paused, and the soft chime of her giggling filled the soundless void housing the unlikely pair. Despite this being your first real test in that form, I know you will be displeased that it rendered you unconscious. The caramel-skinned representation of death could already see the thousands upon thousands of hours Naruto would invest over the coming months to make sure it didn't happen again. It left her shaking her head. But the smile couldn't be more genuine. You defeated a foe lesser men do their best to avoid, and you'll be ticked off that you didn't do it better. However, I suppose that's one of the things that drew me to you in the first place, Naruto. As she reflected, Freya brought out a new reality stone, one she took from an already doomed timeline. She closed Naruto's hands around the rock because he needed it for what came next. There is one thing left in your path before you can rest, my chosen one. Allow me to lend you one last helping hand until we meet again. Freya slowly leaned over Naruto until she could press her black-painted lips against his forehead. She held the gesture of affection for a minute, flooding Naruto with more than enough energy to awaken him from his slumber. Go, and end this once and for all. Naruto's conscious thought returned simultaneously to his eyes flying open. He did well to hide most of his shock, but he couldn't stop himself from whipping his head around. This was a typical shinobi response to waking up from an unplanned nap. He wasn't too surprised to find himself back on the original battlefield. That was expected. All things considered, he'd have to. Wait, were those wings? The sage actually stopped mid-movement and double-checked to see that he indeed had a pair of wings behind him. They were almost identical to the artistic representations he'd seen depicting angels. Only his wings weren't made of thick, white feathers but rather translucent energy tinted ever so slightly with the same pale coloring of his cloak. Why did he think Freya had something to do with that? I can already fly, so is it just aesthetic? Or can they do something I don't know about yet? Naruto! Said person put those thoughts on a shelf and floated down to Steve, who quickly ran down what occurred in Naruto's absence. Is it just me, or does he look like an angel? But angels and death don't really mix. What started with Peter rubbing the sweat from his forehead turned into him admiring the majesty of Naruto's form. Some cultures actually place a heavy emphasis on an angel of death. Peter Parker, like his younger compatriot, Chala, was starting to wear down from constant fighting, so he was willing to try anything to take his mind off the fatigue, like giving a small piece of cultural wisdom to the high school's superhero. So you're telling me the bad guys have limitless troops? Naruto grunted with a hidden scowl. Great, it sounded like the Edo Tensei all over again. At least they were chakra-powered zombies. That's what Tony thinks, and it sure feels like it. This wasn't Steve's forte, but even he could tell that the evidence pointed toward Tony's theory being proven correct. And you guys want to use the stones to make them all vanish. A reasonable response but dangerous for even the strongest of superheroes. It's the only feasible way out of this. It was clear to Naruto that Steve didn't like what using the Infinity Stones entailed. Not that he blamed the World War II veteran. But you don't know who will do the honors? Tony offered, but Pepper shut it down. She's not letting him anywhere near the fight since he took the hit. Captain America's eyes were instinctively pulled toward where Tony was sitting. A spot guarded not only by Pepper and Rhodey but a whole collection of suits that Pepper summoned from New York. What happened? Naruto followed the experienced soldier's gaze to the man in question. Something was clearly wrong, but what? He had a nasty hit on the spine by one of Thanos' generals. He can't feel his legs anymore. Upon hearing the nitty-gritty, Naruto couldn't help but grimace at the idea of being paralyzed from the waist down. Thor and Hulk are going back and forth about who is more capable. But neither is in the physical condition to pull it off. Hell, your best chance is her. The whiskered ninja jerked his thumb over his shoulder at Carol. Captain Marvel had taken to the air and blasting anything that tried getting near her and the gauntlet. Had I not been here, leaving Steve behind, Naruto flew to Carol. She had a hand ready to blast him but stopped when she recognized his face. You're back. Where's Big Purple? Gone. Every last atom. Naruto was fine admitting that the statement came with the tiniest of smiles. Maybe it was Freya's feelings. Or they could have been his. With Thanos, it was tough to tell. They both despised the former Titan that much. Carol was glad to hear some good news. Taking a moment to admire the vibe of the godly-looking fighter, she made an offer that was just a little out of place for an active combat site. Hey, you want to spar sometime? Go a few rounds. Naruto tossed his head back and laughed. Gods, he needed a good laugh right now, still giggling to himself. Let's make plans, Marvel. But before that, I'm going to need the shiny hand. I know that you know, but be careful with that. Naruto acknowledged her point with a brisk nod. The exchange was smooth, and incorporating the stones into his form was even easier. Each infinity item appeared in a line around Naruto's collar, all 6 glowing with the brilliance of an otherworldly diamond. Naruto felt all eyes on him as he rose into the cloudy sky over California. He filled his lungs with a calming breath, vaguely aware of the guns aimed at him. No doubt they wanted the stones back. Here goes nothing. Naruto sent the infinity stones shooting from his cloak with an emphatic snap of his fingers. The 6 gem-like items hovered around Naruto's motionless, emitting an ethereal glow that slowly expanded into a sphere. When all 6 colored circles touched, the electricity in the air stopped. That was the last thing Naruto saw before everything went black. When Naruto returned to the waking world, he was flat on his back with his cloak gone. That left him bare-chested. But he had bigger problems, like the feeling of every molecule in his body being set on fire. Fuck, that hurt. Straining himself to check his body, Naruto was relieved to see nothing was crippled or burned beyond repair. Now that he thought about it, it was kinda quiet, unnaturally so. Several people ran over to check on him. Some of them Naruto recognized, and others he didn't. He picked Steve's face as the one to focus on. That's when Naruto stumbled on a realization that made him grunt. I can't hear you. Naruto saw the alarm spread. Don't freak out. It will pass. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna close my eyes for a bit. Naruto was confident that people were yelling for him to do the opposite. But the message he read off Steve's lips told Naruto enough. We won. Naruto understood that the defeat of Thanos was but a step in the process. Inevitably, the media of this world would come calling for answers. It's why Naruto stood with some Avengers backstage, waiting for the press conference to be finalized. During this time, the Avatar regaled his temporary comrades with details from his battle with Thanos. Naruto spared as few details as possible, aware they wanted the whole story and not tidbits. But there was information Naruto kept close to his chest, like his reason for fighting, and the connection he shared with Freya. Otherwise, he was an open book to the people listening to his words. Peter seemed particularly enthralled with Naruto's flavor of flair, which Naruto chuckled over internally. Carol and Chala were more reserved in showing their emotions, but their tells were there. That's how it all ended, with myself and Thanos standing beneath a cosmic shower of energy meteors. Truth be told, it wasn't that bad of a view. Naruto was impressed with the group's patience and how they listened for 30 minutes straight without interrupting him. He counted on some interjections, but none? Never in his wildest dreams. While his gulp of water went down his throat, Naruto allowed himself a moment to breathe. Once he did that, he concentrated on the contemplative trio considering the information he shared with them. Naruto only had one thought he needed to confirm. So? What do you guys think? I'm pretty scary, right? It wouldn't have been the first time his powers gave other people a reason to fear him. Despite the connotation behind his response, Naruto appreciated Peter's honesty when the teen nodded his head, albeit slowly. Naruto panned his oceanic eyes to Carol and Chala, both of whom appeared to be battling with their own thoughts. Carol was the first to reach forward with her hand outstretched. I think you're dangerous. But who said that has to be a bad thing? I didn't say it back there. Thanks for the assist, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto reciprocated the gesture, gladly shaking the fierce woman's hand, their eyes locked, yet nothing else needed to be said as they exchanged their respects. When Wakanda's king stepped toward Naruto, it was with his face set into the smallest of smiles. It is clear you are formidable. I can respect a warrior willing to do what is necessary. This isn't a path everyone can adhere to when the time comes. Like Carol before him, Chala shared his own handshake with Naruto. That does not mean I don't wish to test your skills myself. Now, hold on a minute. I don't give a rat's ass if you're a king, Chala. I called dibs on fighting him first. Carol crossed her arms in a huff. She even glared at the warrior king. The only thing she didn't do was stomp her foot in irritation. Carol's display was so unexpectedly honest that Naruto couldn't help but laugh. Soon Carol joined him, while Peter looked confused, and Chala smirked silently. It was this jovial atmosphere Steve stumbled upon. He came with questions but was pleased to see people enjoying themselves once more. In the shieldman's humble opinion, Earth had enough sadness these last years. I'm glad to see everyone is in high spirits. Hey Cap! Fancy meeting you here. Naruto registered the first Avenger's comment with a blink. He shrugged, and his charismatic grin came back full force. Meh, being down in the dumps really isn't my style. Steve chuckled at his fellow fighter's carefree retort. There could never be enough strong and kind people in the universe. Naruto was just that. I already told you to call me Steve, didn't I? Sorry about dragging you into this media circus. Naruto waved off the man's apology before stuffing his hands into his pockets lest he fidget with his idle hands. You don't need to apologize. I always knew this would happen after I got my hands on Thanos. Naruto would have been a fool to think he'd slink into the background after killing the infamous interplanetary criminal. You should put some more stock into this, Junior. Tony went to lightly slap Naruto on the shoulder, but Naruto avoided it like he had eyes in the back of his head. It left the wheelchair-sat billionaire staring at his hand. How good reflexes. But seriously, take it from me, things will change when people know who you are. As the first superhero, Tony had first-hand experience with the subject matter. The blonde who killed Thanos in combat shook his head. The easiest way to refute the suggestion. He could appreciate the sentiment, but simultaneously, Naruto didn't plan on letting the opinions of another change how he lived his life. If someone wants to find me, they'll figure it out. Having a fancy name won't stop that, Stark. Whatever, Junior, it's your call. Tony purposefully wheeled himself in front of the group, allowing him to see everyone. Okay, since I am the lead guitarist, I'll do the talking, hopefully. We'll all get through this shitstorm without crap in our mouths, cool. First thing I'm doing is inventing a better wheelchair, one that will respond to my thoughts. I have to get rid of the constant physical effort, it's exhausting. Those were the thoughts of the former Iron Man as he made his exit. Man, what a pep talk, Naruto drawled out lazily. Less than impressed with the Iron Avenger's behavior, he wasn't sure what about Tony hadn't clicked with him. Naruto knew he didn't dislike the man, per se, but their personalities they clashed. Maybe that's why he didn't fully trust the man. Seeing Naruto's look of doubt, Peter felt it necessary to speak on behalf of his mentor. Sure, Mr. Stark had rough edges, but once people got to know him to know how much good he did. And not just for Peter's family but for families across the world. Don't take it personally, Naruto, Mr. Stark, Tony likes to be in control, which is fine. The thing is, no one controls what I do but me. Sometimes I am right, and other times I am not, but I do the best with what I have. Naruto saved Peter his breath. He let everyone know that he didn't blame Tony for his attitude. In fact, the blonde accepted who Tony was, even if he disagreed with the man's nature. The intensity in Chala's dark gaze turned into something else. There was a gleam of respect that wasn't often given by the noble defender of Wakanda. I remember my father saying something similar to me when I was a boy. Naruto sheepishly rubbed at the back of his head, ignoring the amused grin from Carol in his peripheral vision. You are kind to say such, Chala, but I'd say I am more of a miscreant than a monarch. Still, I appreciate the sentiment. Parker, I'd get out of here. Find Sam and Bucky. Unless you plan on standing with the rest of us on the stage. Steve was firm yet fair with his fellow New Yorker. He wanted to ensure the youngest present understood the gravity of their position. It was a cliché, but this wasn't a game. The whiskered avatar of Freya watched the young queen's native scamper off with a faint smile. Where's the rest of your group? They all head home? Steve, in his suited glory, shook his head negatively. The Avengers were most certainly still around. Not yet. They're scattered around the building waiting for the conference to start. We all agreed to be here just in case. Then we shouldn't keep them waiting any longer. The group of extraordinary individuals stepped through the curtain. Following after Tony, he granted them a glance over his glasses before shifting to the reporters, who grew louder by the second. Now or never. Tony turned the live microphone on and cleared his throat to let them all know he was ready to speak. Many of you know who I am, whether that is Tony Stark or Iron Man. Since I came out as Iron Man, life has taken off in ways I could have never imagined 10 years ago. Sometimes I get it right, but sometimes I don't, but that has never stopped me from trying to make our planet a better place for everyone. But that's what life is about, learning from your mistakes. One would never guess it from looking at him, however. Tony was incredibly uncomfortable at the moment. He thought being in a wheelchair wouldn't be a big deal. But it was for the ego-driven man. It was a huge deal. Though it wasn't naturally occurring, the man known to many as Mr. Stark forced a smile to his stress-aged face. That is why myself and the rest of the Avengers did something certifiably insane. We went back and gathered the Infinity Stones. We did it to bring back everyone Thanos killed. You're welcome, by the way. His proclamation unleashed a whole new surge of chatter from the media masses. Unfortunately, when you mess with time, it bites back. That's why Thanos came back, to stop us. Are you saying that you went back in time? Tony couldn't help it. The way the newsman questioned him, the disbelief forced the genius to roll his eyes. Tony would admit it. He was mildly offended by the doubt. Are you saying you are surprised I could make a time machine? I'm Tony freaking Stark. Besides, the machine was destroyed by Thanos' mothership. Sorry boys and gals, no DeLorean for you. What changed, Mr. Stark? Why did things go smoothly this time, when last time Thanos beat the Avengers? The team members across the venue frowned at the reminder of their greatest failure. First, it wasn't smooth, not at all. We lost good men and women out there. People who didn't have to fight but chose to take up arms. They died defending your home. You could show a little respect. Tony handled most women with more respect than men because of his mom. But this lady wouldn't get the same kindness, not until she learned tact. As for why the normally sure-mouthed superhero appeared to struggle with what he wanted to say, Naruto saved him from figuring it out when the blonde put a hand on Tony's shoulder. I can take it from here. Naruto nodded to Tony and took one of the spare mics as Tony moved out of the limelight. The fact that Naruto was dressed in a hoodie already drummed up a murmur of disbelief among the crowd. Like they thought this was some bad joke, Naruto ignored them in favor of staring right into the camera. He planned on starting things with a bang. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I killed Thanos. New York. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I killed Thanos. Tucked away in one of New York City's many sky-touching towers, the Fantastic Four gathered before a wall-wide television, or at least 3/4 of them were watching. Their resident scientist locked himself in the depths of his lab, leaving Ben, Susan, and Johnny to make do without him. Out of the trio, the younger Storm's sibling was most vocal. I can't believe we missed Thanos again. Talk about crap luck. Susan grew up with her brother saying outrageous things. It came with being the older sister to a headstrong boy. But then he'd go ahead and say something like that, slapping a palm against her forehead. The blonde woman groaned against her palm tiredly. Are you kidding me? Who complains about not fighting some planet-killing maniac? The genuinely hot-headed hero wheeled around on his sister to put his lively blue eyes on her. It's all about the brand, sis. Imagine the kind of opportunities that I'm missing here. Johnny certainly knew what he missed. The revelation left the ladies' man sulking internally to avoid risking his sister's ire. Johnny's reasoning wasn't expected of a superhero. It was a rationale that took Susan from face-palming to rubbing the bridge of her nose. The suffering sigh needed no explanation. Ben, will you do something about him? Please? When she failed to draw a suitable reaction, Susan looked at the mountain-like man sitting next to her. What's wrong, Ben? Ben Grimm's concentrated scowl deepened as he stared at the whiskered man on the TV. His brain needed half a minute before the heavy hitter snapped his fingers with a sound of realization, and with it, the scowl on his rocky face dropped. Ah, that's why he looks familiar. I ran into that kid on the street once, small world. Left openly slack-jawed by the older man's comment, Johnny pointed at Ben, then to the screen several times before a garbled mess of partially coherent speech tumbled out of his mouth. What? You? Him? How? When were you gonna bring this up, old man? Ben refrained from throwing the couch at his annoying comrade. Barely. Instead, the massive man settled for scowling at the younger hero. One of these days, what do you want from me, Blondie? It ain't like he beat Thanos when I met him. Back off before I toss you out the window. While the two men bickered back and forth, Susan pinned her attention on Naruto. She burned every detail about Naruto into her considerable memory. Those words would stick with him surely. But to Susan's modest nature, she felt Naruto should have approached his introduction more carefully. Naruto Uzumaki, Spain. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I killed Thanos. Felicia had so many emotions swirling around inside that singling out one would be a gross simplification of how she felt staring at the screen reflecting the face of one Naruto Uzumaki. There he was. The same person she went to school with, the reserved yet kind blonde Felicia knew claimed the unthinkable without batting an eye. It was incredible and absurd in equal measure. Felicia understood enough about Naruto to know how much his word meant to him. The disastrous fashion in which their friendship ended hadn't changed that. If Naruto said he killed Thanos, then she believed it. You are really something else, Whiskers. Truth be told, this isn't the first time her thoughts circled around her fellow blonde. She thought about that day many times since it played out. Plainly put, she made a mistake. She would not allow anyone to tell her that her anger wasn't justified. It was. End of story. Where Felicia went wrong was aiming her anger in the wrong place. But that was how hindsight worked. In her highly emotional state, Felicia mistakenly saw Naruto as an enemy, when he was quite the opposite. He just wanted her to think about the difference between death and killing. This was a lesson she needed to learn the hard way during her first year as Black Cat. With the training and skills she gained under the tutelage of Black Fox, Felicia blossomed. He was the same man who taught her father how to become a world-renowned thief. With Black Fox's help, Felicia took to the family business like a fish to water. Black Cat was a natural-born thief and a damn good one. She made most secure locations look like 24/7 supermarkets without really trying. Gems, paintings, statues, no treasure was safe from her claws. Like the dragons of yore, she amassed a fortune of riches in no time. However, there was one line Felicia refused to cross: murder. She came upon this epiphany by tracking down her sexual assailant the following March. Finding Ryan with her growing repertoire of skills was no trouble at all. Where she found difficulty was actually doing the deed. There were multiple opportunities to strike the would-be rapist down, but she always ended up with cold feet, somewhere inside. A part of her couldn't take that all-important step. She couldn't become a murderer. There were too many nights when she went to bed in tears, frustrated with herself for being a coward. Her sought-after revenge was right there. But no amount of internal pep talks could move her to cross that line. Even a thief had their morals, gray as they might be. It was early one morning when word came across the local news station. The man who tormented Felicia's nightmares since her ill-fated collegiate days was one of 5 people who died in a multi-car crash on the highway coming into the city. He was gone from this earth in ignoble fashion, dead, but not by her hand. It seemed like the best possible outcome at the time. Her high spirits lasted 3 weeks before the hole in her soul reared its head. That's when the pangs of doubt rose, filling her quiet moments, gnawing at the core of her being. And nothing she tried could fill that void. Not that she didn't try. Gold and gems were but temporary highs that faded fast. Felicia forcefully snapped out of her backtracking with an audible sigh. Her bright eyes once more fell upon Naruto's familiar face. Pulling out an old phone, Felicia selected the only contact she had left. It was Naruto's number. She closed the contact just as quickly. I think it's time I wrap up the loose ends here and return home. There are some fences I need to mend. I can't live with this regret for the rest of my life. Even should Naruto not accept her apology, Felicia needed to do this for herself. She needed to divest herself of these toxic regrets before it was too late. San Francisco, California. Again Naruto was responsible for creating an uproar of noise. This time it was twice as loud as the commotion Tony unleashed. But unlike the older man, Naruto didn't field any questions immediately. He didn't raise his voice to speak, which forced the crowd to quiet down or risk missing his words. I will say this one time for everyone to hear. I will be clear. I will be direct. Naruto saw people leaning forward over their laps, but he kept his piercing gaze on the cameras. I am no avenger. I do not work for any government or agency on this planet. The only person I represent is myself. The blonde spared only a breath to avoid needless interruptions. There's no doubt people will come looking for me. If you hunt me down, bring your best. Or you won't stand a chance, should you choose to involve the innocent in your schemes. You won't find mercy or leniency from me. A pregnant silence sat heavily on the auditorium. Naruto left the people trying to comprehend what drove him to take such a heavy-handed stance. The question that followed was launched from somewhere near the middle of the crowd. You're against the Sokovia Accords? That's a fair question. Allow me to put it like this: I'm not against what those papers stand for, Naruto informed the throng of media and heroes alike, not shying away from the question that divided America's superhero community. Would you have signed the agreement? The former ANBU's keen ears recognized the voice as the same who first questioned him. Seeing it as a sensible follow-up, Naruto had another answer for them. No, always unruly in spirit and demeanor, the Uzumaki didn't feel the weight of judgment on him. Most would in his shoes, but not the stubborn son of Kushina and Minato. He knew from his past life that words wouldn't change how others viewed him. If they praised him, they still would. Same for those who saw him as nothing but a threat. That is all I have to say. Have a nice day. Naruto promptly made for the exit. His swift departure left Tony on damage control duty with Steve alongside. While the two worked on the media, Carol and Chala trekked after the defiant blonde, following him to the back where fewer eyes saw what happened next. Honestly, I don't know if I'm impressed or if I should call you an idiot. Carol and her blunt take on the situation didn't come as a surprise to Naruto. They were freshly acquainted, but Naruto had a good grasp on her as a person, because, when it came down to it, he and Carol were very alike, a combination of strong and headstrong that left others dealing with headaches. That is what his teachers said about him, mostly fondly. Why can't you do both? The happy reply from Naruto came with a crooked smile. It was more than enough to draw laughter from the spacefaring hero. However, Naruto realized the positive emotions might not extend to the Silent King. Their eyes locked for a moment before Naruto moved to address him formally. The setting changed, but Naruto's sentiment hadn't, something the Guardian of Wakanda would learn firsthand. And I apologize if I offend you by standing against your father's vision for the future, yet, I will not allow others to aim my power like some weapon. I do not care if every country on this planet demanded it. Naruto needed years to become powerful enough to earn his freedom from the corrupt shinobi system. He wouldn't trade one set of overlords for another just because old windbags were scared of what he could do. Chala appeared contemplative of how he worded his response. While he appreciated Carol's freedom to speak, he also respected a man who thought about his position in life's many detours. A few years ago, I would be furious, but I have learned these pressures we live with should not be taken lightly. There are no hard feelings between us, Naruto Uzumaki. Coming to an understanding, the trio turned into a group when Steve and Tony rejoined the fray. Both iconic men looked exhausted but happy to be done with it. Glad that's done for today at least. How about a little shindig at my place? What do you say? Carol still had some time to waste and agreed happily. But Naruto and Chala were more hesitant. Tony did not need long to convince the king. When he did sway Chala, Naruto couldn't reasonably say no, much to his frustration. And like that, the group was boarding a flight to the inventor's New York home. Upstate New York. Come on, Wong. Teach this new dude how we do it. He is no dude. This here is a man. A warrior. There is no way your wizard can beat him in a test of might, metal guy. With Rhodey and Drax contributing commentary over the bout, Wong found himself locked in the middle of an intense battle with Naruto. What were they doing? The wizard and warrior were engaged in an arm wrestling contest, something instigated when a more than drunk Wong challenged Naruto, who was too amused to turn him down. When it came to physical strength, there wasn't a doubt. Naruto held the physical advantage over Wong. However, he let the older man struggle against him for the last few minutes to entertain himself and spare Wong's inebriated ego. It was a party after all. People were here to have a good time. Are you ready to give up yet? The cheeky comment from Naruto caused Wong's head to snap up. Looking away from their clenched hands, he glared at Naruto with enough force to make his face red. Either that or the alcohol in his blood put some color on his face. I'll teach you to underestimate a master of the mystic arts. Right now! A faint smirk pulled on Naruto's lips when his opponent's grunting reached his ears, a byproduct of the force he tried to apply. But for all his efforts, Naruto barely felt the strain. Certainly not enough pressure to stop him from slamming Wong's hand down and claiming a decisive victory. I win! What the hell, Wong? Yes. Naruto deftly stepped aside as the muscular Drax rushed to the table. He watched the bald man shake Wong roughly despite Wong having passed out from alcohol consumption. I told you, wizard. You could not. The literal man wobbled on his feet before dropping forward onto the table with Wong, snoring through his slumber. And he is out of it too. Naruto deadpanned at the peculiar happenings. During his trance, he felt someone move to stand next to him. But Naruto couldn't find the will to remove his eyes from the spectacle in front of him. It was Rody that took up the position beside the blonde. Like Naruto, he was glued to the visual of two grown men drooling on the same table. You know what? This was a far better result. I need a camera. The former pilot wasn't one to turn down free dirt on a friend. Patting the man on the shoulder, a chuckling Naruto dipped his chin in acknowledgement. I'm happy to help out. You enjoy the rest of the party. Naruto took his leave from a scene of his causing, but he didn't get far before another boisterous partier approached him. Hail, friend. Finally, I get to meet the other man who killed Thanos. That makes us brothers or something. No. Greeted by the thunderous, round-gutted Asgardian, Naruto had trouble reconciling his perception of Thor with the man he saw holding a beer, but he supposed people could change, even so-called gods. Yeah, something like that. I see you're enjoying the party, Naruto said while gesturing to the beer in Thor's hand, which was starting to bubble over the rim of his mug. It appeared Tony had lots of cleaning to do in the coming days. Hey, better the super billionaire than him. Yes, Stark has a rich stock of ale. Perfect for a feast such as this. Please partake in this with me, my brother in arms. Ever flowing with the spirit of good tidings, Thor graciously offered Naruto the same cup he was drinking from. Also, he nearly spilled his beer onto Naruto. Since beer was not to Naruto's tastes, he politely turned down the offer with a courteous smile. No, I'd rather not. I haven't had enough food to think about drinking. Thanks for the offer. Beer's taste never agreed with Naruto's taste buds, so he'll be avoiding it. So, what can I help you with, Thor? More for me then. Downing at least half his cup in a single fearsome gulp, the Thunder God removed his cup far enough to release a belch that spilled droplets of spit into his beard. That's the good stuff. Now, where was I? Oh yes. I've come to meet Earth's newest defender. To take the measure of you as a warrior. Since he saw where this meeting was going, Naruto adopted a more focused expression. While not matched by his compatriot, it was relevant to their discussion. I understand. Tell me then, what do you think of me after meeting face to face? Naruto wouldn't put much weight into what Thor thought of him, but he was interested to hear his thoughts. You are mighty. It's relieving to know Earth is in safe hands when I'm no longer around. This world it's become a home to me, and with his one good I put to the future. That security was priceless to Thor. He wouldn't have to worry about Earth's safety any longer. If you will excuse me, I need to find Steve before I drink enough to forget. And off the lightning warrior went, nearly toppled sideways as he walked through Tony's spacious home. Naruto could only shake his head at the eccentric group he intermingled with. I can't tell if he was drunk, happy, or both. A random glance off his right shoulder ended up with Naruto having eyes on the being known to be Groot. Perhaps the only person he wanted to meet. Naruto used this chance to satisfy his curiosity. This led to him taking a seat opposite the tree-like creature, taking Groot's attention off his video game. I am Groot. Naruto grinned back at the confused foliage, more than happy to answer the questions Groot posed. How could I not talk to you? It ain't every day you see an honest-to-goodness sentient tree. You're like Lord of the Rings come to life. Was this the nature mode in him geeking out? Then again, Naruto had come to appreciate geek culture since moving to Earth at Freya's behest. The strangeness of the blonde's approach got the confused guardian to put his game down, a feat of ingenuity on Naruto's part. No doubt, I am Groot. There was an unmistakable confusion dripping off Groot's three-word response. What's Lord of the Rings? Don't worry about it. I wanted to introduce myself to you because I'm a sage. Part of my training required me to ingratiate myself with the planet. He bordered on gushing because of his excitement. But Naruto thought he kept himself together. But he is the son of Kushina Uzumaki. Excitable tendencies are in his blood. I am Groot. Whatever Groot replied with forced Naruto to recoil back in shock. The former shinobi's surprise transitioned onto his face, ending with him squinting his face into a thoughtful stare that extended beyond Groot. You don't know what a sage is? I mean, I guess I shouldn't have assumed you would. Here, it will be much easier if I just show you. Keep your senses open for me. Naruto fell into the familiar embrace of meditation without any struggles. Not even Tony's rocking party around him could prevent Naruto from reaching the peak of chakra-based balance. In a few short seconds, he found himself enriched with the power of sage mode in his pathways. The visible effects on his body included orange eye outlines, a white diamond on the forehead, and orange eyes with bar-shaped pupils, and his whisker marks thickened into rectangular shapes too. I am Groot! I am Groot! I am Groot! The nature-enhanced chakra radiating from Naruto put Groot in a frenzy, overly enthused by the sensations around them. The floral entity had plenty of questions to ask the sage. Shaking his head, Naruto slid his legs away from their previously crossed position. He wanted to be comfortable for the upcoming discussion. Nah, it isn't something all humans can do. I can only do it because a race of sentient ninja toads taught me. Despite the absurdity of that last statement, Naruto delivered it with a casual shrug. I am Groot. One didn't need to be fluent in Groot to see the doubt etched onto Groot's bark-covered face. The teenage Timber even went so far as to roll his eyes. No joke, sentient ninja toads, they showed me how to use this energy as a weapon, so I could protect my home from the murderer of my godfather. When he destroyed my village, we fought. It wasn't until later I learned that he was a cousin. Man, that was a messed up day. Nagato Uzumaki suffered through a cruel world filled with the manipulations of vile men. He committed many wrongs. But his Uzumaki blood showed itself when Nagato found something to fight for. It didn't pardon Nagato's atrocities, but it counted for something. I am Groot. Yeah, it was fucked. I am Groot. The floral colossus performed a series of gestures with his hands, to which Naruto nodded as he went. Groot got further and further into his tale, each twist taking Naruto for a loop. When the tree finally finished his retelling, the blonde could only stare back in awe. Wait, you're saying your friends got into a dance-off to save the universe? How does something like that ever happen? And I thought my life was weird. It really puts things into perspective. This was probably how other people felt when he told them about the litany of unbelievable things he did in his young life. What comes around goes around, I guess. During the lull, Groot stretched an arm out, leaving the equivalent of his palm facing toward Naruto. I am Groot. The space tree nodded, looking expectantly at the blonde sage. You want to see what my sage mode will do to you? Sure, I don't see the harm. Naruto went to place his hand against Groot's larger one. The two were a second away from making contact when a loud voice stopped their moment before it could come to fruition. Where the hell have you been, Groot? I've been looking for your Twiggy but for an hour. His grip on sage mode slipped through his fingers, meaning orange eyes reverted to blue. Those were the same eyes that stared down at the raccoon responsible for the shout. Naruto might have been curious about Rocket, but the critter didn't spare Naruto a second glance. Come on, get your ass up. You still have a curfew. Totally dumbfounded for the second time tonight, Naruto watched as the odd pair left him in the dust. He tried to say something but found himself physically incapable of uttering a peep. You know what? I think I've had enough for tonight, my head kind of hurts. Naruto drifted toward the nearest exit, which led to the back of the estate. This put Naruto on a natural path toward a rather large lake, where he spotted Wanda sitting by herself at the end of a dock. At least she was until Naruto joined her on the pier. The uneasy quiet between them lasted until Wanda couldn't take it anymore. She targeted the reason behind Naruto's uninvited intrusion on her solitude. Wanda hoped she'd go unnoticed with everyone else celebrating their latest victory over a hated foe. Her hopes appeared to be for naught. Why are you here, bothering me? I don't know you. Naruto was forced to agree with her. Mostly, sure, he heard of Wanda Maximoff, but he didn't know the woman. No, I do not. But I know what it's like to be alone in an apathetic world. I never wanted to hear someone tell me that it'd be alright. I'd actually rather punch them in the face. However, I secretly enjoyed the silent company occasionally. Wanda's lifeless eyes stayed glued on the lake, watching how the sunset bled across the water's shifting reflection. The ripples in the watery canvas reminded her of the pain in her chest. Spreading always and never stopping, that might have worked for you, but it won't for me. You can leave now. He brushed off her cold shoulder and colder attitude effortlessly. Naruto was far too stubborn to be deterred by a handful of words. In response, the blonde delivered a brief but cutting reply. Liar. His words forced Wanda to look his way, more than a little upset by his claim. I know better than most what self-deception looks like. So began a test of wills between two strong-willed people. It played out through a silent staring match between Naruto and Wanda. The latter gave in first when she looked away with a sigh, breaking the competition to see who was more stubborn between them. You are a strange man. Naruto wore a nostalgic smile as he did something Wanda never expected from him. He literally walked across the water's surface, treating it like cement or something solid. Then he went and sat down on it. As luck would have it, being a little weird is one of my best qualities. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Wanda, how are you doing that? Her plain introduction lacked the same curious spark that her question possessed, but to be fair to her, how often did someone get to see another person defy the fundamental laws of the planet so flippantly? Yes, she saw it happen in a fight, but during everyday life? Not so much. It took a lot of willpower on Naruto's part to keep the knowing grin from his whisker-marked face. Oh, that? It's just me channeling some of my internal energy through my body. With it, I can stick to the water. It's a pretty nifty trick. If I'm honest, want to try it? Naruto swore he caught a flash in Wanda's eyes, but it died as quickly as it manifested. My powers do not work like that. The last Maximoff twin tried hiding her intrigue behind a matter-of-fact delivery, but the blonde responsible for rousing her interest felt the lingering surprise buried deep in her soul. It's what Naruto latched onto as he pushed ahead. But mine do! Here, take a look for yourself. Gracefully transitioning from the water to the dock, he settled a hand on Wanda's shoulder. With contact between them established, Naruto had all he needed to turn Wanda into a chakra conduit. A push of energy from his pathway shrouded a blue outline around the Scarlet Witch's entire body. Much to her surprise, it was a difficult thing to explain without experiencing it, however. Her senses felt stronger, like they were amplified by the chakra swirling around her. Wanda didn't feel more alive. She felt life around her. It was overwhelming but amazing. She had to wonder if this is how Naruto existed in this world of theirs. As the more experienced one, Naruto guided Wanda onto the lake's surface. The Sokovian needed a minute to believe that she wouldn't fall into the body of water. When she gathered such confidence, she began to enjoy the unique experience bestowed upon her by Naruto. In her haste, Wanda would have gone ahead without Naruto if he didn't stop her first. If you break contact with me, you will fall into the lake. Careful. While it'd be hilarious to see that happen, the blue-eyed blonde didn't think that'd be the best way to build trust between him and Wanda. She wisely took Naruto's advice to heart, and together they strolled over the large lake at a leisurely pace. Nothing was said between them as they reveled in the sounds and sights nature had to offer. This aura of peace around them coerced the Scarlet One into speaking about what weighed on her mind. Did you know walking among nature was one of our favorite hobbies? This didn't get it at first. He asked why we'd waste time walking when we could fly. This wouldn't understand until much later. But he did it because it made me happy. Acutely aware that nothing he could say would help her, Naruto relegated himself to the thankless role of attentive listener. That was the only way Naruto could support Wanda without overstepping any boundaries. We never had as much time together as I would have liked, not with all the responsibilities we took onto our shoulders. But I got to see the world, something an orphan girl from Sokovia thought was impossible. I was thankful for that. Vis and I took in these new things together. We were both strangers to the world, but we saw things differently. His viewpoint was so beautiful, so hopeful. I loved him for it. Sharing life as he saw it made me feel alive again. Something I lost when my brother died. This he gave me my heart back. Naruto didn't need an empathic connection with Wanda to feel the anguish in her voice. He held his tongue lest he diminish the tears running down her face. The opinions and words of an outsider had no place in her moment. I killed him. I killed the man I loved by blowing a hole in his head. And it didn't mean a damn thing. Thanos still killed trillions of people, but I killed my heart. The anger bubbling within Wanda caused waves of crimson grief to buffer against Naruto's body. He battled through the pain, refusing to release his grip on her shoulder. Eventually, the calming quality of his chakra dulled Wanda's aggression. What do I do next? How can I do anything? You take the time and mourn the man you lost, then you should celebrate the life this led. And when you've done that, combine his wishes and what you want for yourself into one dream. That's how you plan to move forward. A far cry from his usual tongue-in-cheek, Naruto spoke with a methodical seriousness. Every sound he uttered was a well-thought choice on his part meant to maximize the impact of the wisdom he attempted to impart on a directionless Wanda. It will be harder than that. Whatever righteous anger she used before was gone from her voice. Without the proper energy, Wanda's reply turned into a heartbreaking muttering steeped in turmoil. You're right. It will be unbearable at times, and it will take an incredible amount of time. But in my experience, it will work if you want it to work. Naruto retreated into his memories of the past. He looked at the lake and saw the rotating images of his friends, of his mother and father sacrificing themselves to ensure his safety. How could he not feel a flicker of bitterness? But mostly, Naruto carried an immeasurable amount of pride with him. He was the son of Minato Namikaze, the proud son of Kushina Uzumaki. Did you? Wanda didn't plan on sounding as spiteful as she did, yet her pain and doubts got the best of her. That is when her heart lashed out in a blind rage which didn't care who got caught up in its fury. But in a handful of minutes, it would be a moment of weakness she'd regret from the bottom of her broken heart. Naruto had done nothing to earn this level of loathing from her. There was a notable shift in Naruto's voice, a colder phase shift that struck true, just like his heart, which froze over to subdue the potential of heartache. I lost my parents, my grandfather-like figure, 3 of my best friends, and the woman I loved. If I didn't walk forward, I might as well be buried in a plot with them. Fuck that. At that point, Naruto and Wanda reached the dock where he placed the speechless redhead. He needed a moment to take a large breath and release all the anger pulled in his gut. Inhale, exhale, let it go, breathe. I'd love to help you through this terrible time, Wanda, I really would. But I know better than anyone this is something you need to do yourself. However, I have faith in you, you're a strong person. Anyone who can stitch together a broken heart is someone I refuse to doubt. His sapphire eyes were like a pair of windows. They were bathed in an unconditional understanding that would stay with Wanda for some time. Goodbye, Wanda Maximoff, New York City. 30 hours had passed since Naruto crossed the country to battle Thanos. Naruto had longer days, but few were more eventful than yesterday. And now, he was looking forward to taking a well-earned rest in his bed. Okay, maybe a bowl of ramen first, he deserved it. Damn it. Creak. I need to oil those hinges one of these days. If I keep putting it off. Naruto took a step through the threshold when his arm flung out in front of him, and from his sleeve, a concentrated barrage of 3 needles pierced the darkness. The needles journeyed forth, where they hit the far wall of his apartment with a series of light thuds. Naruto was far from surprised by the gasp that came back from the shadows. Naruto was stunned it took someone this long to break into his apartment. Too bad for them. The home invader picked the residence of New York's only shinobi, possibly the worst person in the city to mistakenly target. Flicking the lights on revealed his intruder to be a woman. What caught Naruto off guard was the fact that he recognized her. It's you. Despite the inherent danger of how she got in this position, the woman with her arm pinned by the needle-punctured sleeve of her summer half-jacket smiled charmingly. So you do remember me? That warms my heart immensely. Naruto Uzumaki. Her perfect exterior extended to the siren-like chime of her voice, which flowed through his ears like wind passing along a brass chime. However, Naruto wouldn't be worth anything as a shinobi if he were mesmerized by a pretty smile and a pair of shiny eyes. Instead of returning her positive vibes, he showed suspicion through narrowed eyes. Warm your heart? Are you kidding me? I don't even know your name, and clearly, you have been following me. She was lucky that he wasn't an older shinobi who'd respond with a kunai in the heart, not some saban in the sleeve. Hell, some of the more temperamental people in his former profession might have blown the whole room to kingdom come with a jutsu. He knew more than a few people emotionally imbalanced enough to do something so crazy. Let me tell you a secret. No person alive wants to be forgotten by someone that catches their eye. Why would I be an exception? The silky way her words transitioned from each other was equivalent to a song in his ears. Unlike most people, who ended their proclamations with harsher sounds, she had no points of vocal contention, making it all too easy to listen to her talk. Too bad for her. Naruto had seen his fair share of beautiful women, both here and in the elemental nations, so he didn't fall head over heels into the depths of her charm. Naruto stood firm with toned arms crossed over his chest. Slow down the seduction and start spitting the truth. Who are you, and why are you in my apartment? I thought you were going to ask hard questions. Darling, my name is Emma Frost, and I need your help. You want my help? The meeting between Naruto and Emma had a rocky start, but they smoothed out the rough edges. Now the pair were speaking like civilized beings with refreshments between them. Still, Naruto found himself carrying lingering frustrations. It appeared his desired vacation was being pushed further back by the second. Was a little time off too much to ask for? Emma, on the other hand, couldn't be happier. A discussion leading to the eradication of her problems was ideal. Her radiant smile conveyed her answer beyond the capability of words. That is correct. It is an issue of the utmost importance to me. I hope with your help, we can resolve this problem as soon as possible. The beautiful blonde's cultured cadence danced off her lips, sounding like a set of chimes singing in the breeze. Honestly, The enchanting undertones of her words caught him off guard. Emma's voice was pleasing on the ears, dangerously so. It reminded Naruto of a genjutsu's manipulative effects, however. He didn't detect any tricks. This is how Emma sounded all the time. This left Naruto torn between being weary and impressed. Then may I suggest you take this problem to the proper authorities? They can help you with whatever you need, Ms. Frost. Emma ensured. She stared into Naruto's eyes as she spoke, hoping to drive home the sincerity of her beliefs. Are they more qualified to aid someone in distress? More than the angel who saved Earth? Because I do not believe that to be the case. Naruto was convinced a lesser man would have been turned into putty. Emma's praise. Her honeyed words flowed forth as easily as breathing. Flattery, seduction, blackmail, or threats, none of this stuff was new to Naruto. Yugao-sensei instilled in him an immunity to these things. And not even the considerable wiles of Emma Frost put a crack in the former shinobi's professional veneer. Butter me up all you want, it's not going to help you here. If you have a problem, call the cops, or reach out to one of the Avengers. I'm sure they'd be happy to help. Though Naruto hadn't been overly welcoming when engaging her, Emma found a reason to keep smiling. There it was. That response is why she wanted Naruto Uzumaki over the expanding litany of so-called heroes. She needed someone who'd get the job done without compromising them both. You speak your mind and aren't easily moved from your convictions. Others aren't comfortable doing what needs to be done. While noble, they could do more harm than good with such a mindset. That is why I need you, Uzumaki Naruto. My problem is too important to take any chances. An eyebrow shifted on Naruto's face. Emma earned some of his respect by putting his name in the correct order. It showed Naruto that Emma was serious enough about this to do her homework. He supposed it'd be okay to hear her out. Before this goes any further, how did you find my home? Emma brandished the perfect inviting smile, something built by the countless trials of her young life. Even someone as discerning as Naruto had a tough time determining if it was genuine or a lie. I am much more than a pretty face, darling. You made me work for it. But I eventually found what I needed. The information I had predated your sudden rise in fame. But the trail still brought me to your doorstep. Great, I figured as much. I need to start looking at new places. If Emma can find me, it won't be long before the media shows up with their cameras. However, Naruto wasn't a well-trained shinobi for nothing. He didn't let any of his internal grievances show. There'd be plenty of time to be annoyed later. Business came first. Death's chosen one released the negative energy stored within him through a measured exhale. Letting the irritation fall from his face left Naruto with a much calmer and kinder look on his handsome face. Let me give you the same spiel all my potential partners here. I want legitimate details and payment of some kind. This isn't a charity, Ms. Frost, those are my terms. Take it or leave it. For the first time, Naruto compelled Emma away from her perfect posture. His demands resulted in his gaze tilting forward with an intrigued expression. Emma also forced Naruto's blue eyes up, and definitely away from her chest, which was positioned well. Yeah. How perilously direct. I believe your fellow heroes could learn from your forcefulness. I shall concede for the sake of urgency. And please call me Emma. Naruto couldn't find a reasonable excuse to deny the woman with the pretty smile, so he agreed. Emma, tell me what's going on here, the real story. He barely got his request out when Emma rose from her seat and elegantly sauntered around the coffee table. Once moved, she filled the couch beside Naruto, who questioned her with his stare. Too bad for him. Emma ignored the unspoken question. She returned to maintaining proper etiquette, which included folding one thigh over the other. Then the blonde brushed her flawless hair back into place with a whisper-quiet sigh. It is something I like keeping to myself. You see, I have a younger sister. Our family life is complicated. When I left home, I thought it would free her, free from my shadow and the expectations. It worked for a time, but her time ran out. Sadly, she was kidnapped and turned into leverage against me. Emma placed her hand on his shoulder, hoping to draw from Naruto's empathy, but a rising tension beneath his skin caused her to abort her plans. The emotions Naruto expected from Emma weren't anything like the ones he got. Sure, he found hints of anger here and there, but the refined beauty was remarkably in control, considering the stakes, and yet, he didn't detect any lies, which nailed down the paradox around Emma. Clear something up for me, Emma. What makes you special enough to take these risks? Why would anyone want dirt on you? Her nimble danced their way off Naruto's shoulder, drifting away like snow swept off the roof of a house. If he wanted to know more about it all, Emma would fill in the blanks. She wasn't passing up a chance to praise herself. all of it entirely valid, obviously. A sensible question. It isn't incorrect to call myself an incredibly powerful mutant, a telepath, to be precise. That's reason enough for unsavory people to want me beneath their thumb. My sister was the quickest and easiest way to achieve that. Wait, you're a mutant? Naruto heard other people whisper about mutants. Most of them didn't have a lot of nice things to say. The uninformed masses called them freaks unworthy of sharing the earth with normal humans. Naruto couldn't disagree with them more. Without the specifics behind mutant kind's origins, Naruto placed them in the same boat as a shinobi with a Kekkei Genkai. They weren't lesser, they were special. That I am. You didn't think I was just a pretty face, did you? Sensing the makings of a trap in the lovely mutant's question, Naruto took the smart option. He replied with a simple, one-word answer, which would stop him from damning himself with a poorly chosen word. Continue. Emma adopted a more subdued tone as her purpose was made known. It was crucial for a woman in her world to know the intricacies of talking business. Those who couldn't establish themselves as a viable option didn't last long, men and women alike. Truthfully, I would do away with these pests if I had the chance. But the cowards will kill her if they see my face, thus tying my hands. Even my usual contacts are under strict supervision, hence my need to get creative. Naruto knew criminal elements when he saw it. Did the former Jinchuriki have a problem working for someone with questionable morals? Not necessarily, but that's what separated a shinobi from a superhero. His moral compass wasn't always pointing north. That's one reason why Naruto tried judging people on a case-by-case basis. At least you have a good reason to be stubborn. Asai put a break between Naruto's sentences. There goes my vacation. Alright, tell me your sister's name and her last known location. It would be faster if you let me show you, darling. Your mental barriers are keeping me out. Let me in. And this will take less than a second. Her casual mentioning of his mental defenses caught Naruto flat-footed. Emma watched Naruto express his surprise with a smile. After letting the moment breathe, she continued the discussion. Your defenses are quite formidable. When a telepath of my standing is barred from a mind, it's something I note. Fine. But if you stick your nose where it doesn't belong, it won't end well for you. His hesitance came with a half-threat. The promise of harm, while credible, acted more like a defense mechanism. Shinobi never enjoyed having their minds probed. Naruto was an exception because he spent a lot of time working alongside the Yamanaka. So that's why Emma got this offer of trust from him. However, if she insisted on abusing his kindness, Naruto would destroy her. Finally, a man with genuine mysteries. What a refreshing change of pace from what I'm forced to deal with. I give you my word, may I? No matter how intrigued she was by the prospect of learning more about Naruto, Emma wouldn't dare cross any unwelcome boundaries. Doing that endangered both herself and her sister. Betraying Naruto in any fashion was a tactically unwise decision. End of story. Naruto shut his eyes and nodded his consent. With a steady breath, he retreated into the secured recesses of his mind. From there, the former special operative carefully lowered his mental levees. Refusing to drop them totally, Naruto opened enough to let Emma access his surface thoughts. His groove was interrupted by a gentle brush against his psyche. Instead of forcefully expelling the invader, Naruto granted them entry. And with a light shiver going down his spine, he and Emma established a connection. Can you hear my voice, Naruto? I can. Excellent. I will begin transmitting everything you need to know. Please stand by. He was granted a grace period before the Mind Walker funneled all the necessary details straight into his brain. Most of the transfer went smoothly, but a few of the image flashes were more jarring than the others. But it wasn't anything Naruto couldn't handle. The pain throbbing behind his forehead was made worse by a sudden case of nausea-inducing vertigo. An ever-shifting world helped remind Naruto of the troublesome consequences of melding minds with another sentient being. He couldn't say he missed it. Same for the headaches that accompany an information transfer like this. Ugh, I forgot how annoying the vertigo can be. You've done this before? Emma's curiosity sent her blackened eyelashes into a flutter. The chances Naruto would meet two different telepaths was beyond astronomical. Surely it wouldn't hurt if she could pick the mind of someone who shared her unique talents. Naruto couldn't be bothered to do more than grumble as he tried fending off his mental discomfort. Yeah. Something like that. I'll go over all this tonight, and start looking in the morning, hopefully. I can sort all this shit out before things get any messier. Delightful. I'm counting on you. Emma climbed onto her feet, clapping her hands exactly once. The sound of her palms meeting filled the quaint apartment, acting as a predecessor to her next thought. Be a dear and direct me to your washroom. The platinum blonde diva spoke with such certainty that Naruto obliged her without thinking of the consequences. Yeah, sure, it's down the hall, first door on the left. When it finally clicked in his head, Naruto sent Emma a sideways glance. Wait, why exactly? Her smile was the epitome of sweetness packed up in one response. It worked well with her smooth face and flawlessly kept exterior. I will share this apartment with you until our business is concluded. Thank you. I will see you in the morning. Sleep well, darling. Tomorrow is an important day for us all. Still stuck trying to wrap his brain around what just happened, Naruto watched Emma walk away with a sizable bag of luggage in hand. He idly noted Emma must have hidden it behind the couch while they talked. Left alone, Naruto slumped back into his couch with a sigh. He could only wonder, what have I gotten myself into this time? Of the many possibilities, Emma wasn't woken by the worst thing. The smell of food cooking quickly roused the aristocratic woman's dormant appetite. With a fleeting yawn, she sat up and tried stretching some life into her stiff body. I usually eat after showering, but I will make an exception. He better have coffee ready, or there will be hell to pay. She made short work of fixing the bedspread, then she donned a robe that covered her body and sleepwear. Ready to leave the privacy of the bedroom, Emma followed the smells and sounds of breakfast. And sure enough, there Naruto was working over a stove. He must have sensed her presence since he turned to face her immediately. I wonder how he does it? The food will be done in a few minutes. Until then, grab yourself a drink. There's orange juice on the table, milk in the fridge, and coffee on the counter. Take whatever you want. Naruto hadn't planned on having an overnight guest, however, he had one, and that meant being a good host. In this case, it also meant cooking breakfast, something Naruto was okay doing. He wasn't amazing, but he enjoyed cooking all the same. Emma's vibrant blues visibly brightened at the mention of her favorite caffeine-rich beverage. She could practically taste it. Hit with a charge of energy, she sashayed to Naruto, nearly pressing against his back as she peeked over the top of his shoulder. What do we have here? The sudden closeness let Naruto catch a hint of last night's perfume still clinging to Emma. Turning his head back to the food, he shimmied the pan and slid the French toast across a bed of light and fluffy cinnamon butter. The last thing he needed was for his breakfast bread to burn because Emma distracted him in the home stretch. She only needed the promise of coffee on her tongue for encouragement. With free reign of Naruto's kitchen, Emma made her morning drink exactly how she liked it. Today's good start meant high spirits. Things kept going her way when Naruto slid a plate of French toast in front of her, simple but delightful. Ever the dutiful host, Naruto slid 3 different fruit bowls between Emma and himself. He wanted them to have some options for their breakfast. Or a clone did when Naruto sent it to the 24/7 grocery store down the block. Eat up while it's still hot. I haven't cooked for a guest in a while. I hope it's up to your standards. Naruto wasn't surprised by Emma and her impeccable table manners. A woman like her didn't seem the type to partake in improper behavior. Shall we find out? The home chef took a seat across from Emma. He put off eating his share until Emma communicated her opinion on the food. Refusing to rush her first bite, she savored the various tastes rushing her palate. Once the food went down, Emma carefully dabbed her lips with a nearby napkin. That's when her light blue eyes filtered open, bringing a smile to her face. Being treated to good food was a welcome surprise. It's delightful. Thank you for cooking this for me, Naruto. Naruto accepted the gracious compliment with a serene smile. With his worries banished, Naruto set up his own breakfast plate, orange juice included. The former shinobi fell into a light-hearted conversation with Emma as he cut his toast into more manageable pieces. I'm glad. It has been a hot minute since I needed to cook for someone other than myself. Their meal passed along in a comfortable silence, a suitable backdrop for the two blondes. Eventually, the companionable quiet shifted toward casual business speak, courtesy of a curious Emma. Are you going to start looking for my sister? He removed his mouth from his glass of orange juice, parting from his drink with a satisfied sigh. The cool, tangy beverage tasted great after standing over a hot stove for 30 minutes. Yeah, I am. I'll snoop around and see what your informants know. Assuming I get anything, I plan on acting as soon as possible. Best I try something while I'm unexpected. There was no hiding how the Frost sister sagged in a showing of earnest relief. Her noble aura fractured momentarily under the weight of Naruto's reassurances. At the end of it all, Emma was greatly concerned about her little sister's health and safety. More than the world could know, thank goodness. If I could offer you some advice, I'd say go out and treat this like any other day. Don't give your enemies a reason to think something is wrong. As a shinobi, there was no bigger red flag than the sudden disappearance of a target. If the people targeting Emma were half as vigilant, then up and vanishing would put the whole operation on high alert. A frown flickered onto Emma's pristine visage. The stern lines of displeasure on her face lasted for a breath before Emma restored her composure and confidence. Hers was the disposition of a queen. Your advice is sound, that is what I'll do. I wish you the best of luck. Good hunting, Naruto. Naruto had a clone do the quick job of cleaning the dishes while he vanished from the confines of his kitchen with a small puff of smoke. In the elemental countries, there wasn't a population center larger than Konohagakure no Sato. Naruto grew up in those streets, running amok for fun. It wasn't the august Hokage or the venerable Anbu who knew those streets like the back of their metaphorical hand. No, Uzumaki Naruto took that honor, and if it weren't for that trove of experience, the sheer size of New York City would have overwhelmed him. That's why he had a plan to tackle the world-famous city. His knowledge was something Naruto built over months of exploring. Naruto did this by sending transformed clones into the sprawling megacity to keep him updated. Thanks to these shadow clones, the exceptional immigrant was an expert on New York and its surrounding boroughs. Ironically, his latest search led Naruto to a bar named the Twisted Borough. He guessed alcohol and information were a universal partnership. It wasn't healthy, but it got the job done. And that's all that truly mattered in a cutthroat world of results. But before that, I need a disguise. A consequence of him boldly proclaiming himself as the man who killed Thanos was the popularity and infamy. If he walked into somewhere like a bar without the proper precautions, everything he looked to accomplish would go up in smoke. So, he needed someone unassuming. Luckily, Naruto had an identity in mind. Henge. Naruto respected and appreciated the man for everything he did for Naruto and Anbu. But Tenzo was the picture of average. Doubly so in the exotic world of shinobi. He made for a perfect cover. A tweak of the Mokuton man's wardrobe to fit Earth's current trends and Tenzo was ready. The masqueraded slayer of Thanos let himself into the closed bar. He moved across the dead establishment with the silence of an apex predator, and took down a stool to sit on while he waited for the person working in the back to come out and find him. He waited for 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Naruto wasn't surprised to see the man's brow furrowed in annoyance. Technically he was breaking and entering, but who cared about all that? We're closed, come back later if you want a drink that bad. Tapping his fingers off the bar counter, the frustrated bartender got a stoic look of seriousness that Tenzo was known for. What if I'm not here for a drink? But something I think you have and others don't? By now, the poor man's confusion was as plain as the nose on his face. He had no idea what was going on, none whatsoever, and he let Naruto know as much. What the hell are you talking about? Emma Frost sent me. Those 4 words are all Naruto needed to freeze the man like it was the dead of winter. The slight smirk wasn't in character for Tenzo. However, Naruto was another story entirely. He had a reputation for causing chaos. Naruto blamed this bad habit on his mother. First thing Naruto saw? A visible glimmer of jealousy in the man's eyes. The barkeep had an infatuation with Emma. Great, just what he needed. MS, Frost employed you? No offense, but you're so the choice to raise a hand stopped the bitter man from saying something offensive. Don't worry about it. I know I don't look like much, but MS, Frost picked me for my skills, not my looks, or that's what Naruto hoped, but truthfully, he wasn't sure what was going through her mind. What's changed since your last report? Do you have any new, relevant information to share? No, nothing at all. Those thugs have been much tighter-lipped about everything these days. Even that toad is quiet lately. Never thought I'd live to see that happen. The displeasure on the man's face didn't come from disappointing Naruto. It was clear, to Naruto at least, that he was sad to fail Emma. Whatever the reason, Naruto could use that if need be. While the bartender's words were bare in nature, there was something in them for Naruto to follow. Oh. What can you tell me about this toad? You know, insight from dealing with him daily. Anything you can think of will help. Coax him in. Make him seem pivotal to the operation. That was straight out of the metaphorical ANBU playbook. He's filth, both physical and moral. He has no manners and demands everything because his boss is some big shot. I don't know if he's full of shit, but I can't risk my business on that chance. Genuine emotion often creates the best information for someone like Naruto. The less a source thought about what they said, the more value he put into it. Less time thinking meant less time to lie. Naruto said nothing while mulling over things in his head, an all too familiar story. The man who has nothing gets a taste of power and abuses it. It's a sign of weak character and weaker discipline. I'd wager my life on this Toad having several exploitable character flaws. A nod is how Naruto signaled the man to continue. However, the masquerading shinobi threw in a few additional words for good measure. Tell me what you know about him. Personal observations or vices. You must know the little details that the general dossier didn't include. It will help Frost in the end. Totally oblivious to the manipulation, the hopeless man's eyes lit up at the prospect of being helpful to Emma. Love, even a twisted and one-sided love, could be used by the right set of hands. Well, he's every bit the slimeball you've read about. A real greedy son of a bitch too. How so? You see the red bottle on the top shelf? He always demands it despite not having any money. Like I'm giving a thug like him my best bottle. He couldn't afford it if he tried. The bartender almost scoffed in disgust. There's no way some two-bit thug could afford his best bottle. He found the idea laughable at best and insulting at worst. What about one of those bottles? Pointing away from the top shelf selection, Naruto singled out one of the many bottles lining the bottom shelf. He already had a plan shaping up in the back of his head. 50 for one whole bottle. I'll take it. Money traded hands, followed by a bottle of liquor. The pleased bar worker put the cash away while his gums flapped to make idle conversation. Sure. I don't know what you'll do with that. Okay. When he looked up again, he didn't expect to see the bottle changing appearance in a cloud of smoke. As I said, I'm here for a reason, Naruto muttered, looking down at the bottle that now appeared identical to the one sitting up top. It still tasted like crap, but it looked fancy, and that's what mattered. A little later on, Toad wasn't an impressive person to behold. He looked weak and incompetent. Naruto could only see this green dude as someone else's minion. A tool that would sadly be discarded when its use faded. And when the two finally interacted, every one of Naruto's suspicions were proven correct. Fooling the measly mutant had been remarkably easy. All the transformed transplant shinobi needed to do was mention free alcohol. From then on, Naruto had the green-tinted one eating from his palm. It was almost sad to see Toad's complete obliviousness, but not as pathetic as watching him down cheap booze like it was drinking water. Ha! This is some good shit, man. The boss never lets me drunk. Belch. That old dude is a real stiff. His crude behavior was marked with a trashy burp. The guttural sound actually caused several nearby patrons to cringe against their skin. Naruto settled for rolling his eyes when Toad looked away to refill his cup. When Toad got his clouded head back around, Naruto reapplied his fake expression of friendliness. Sweet Amaterasu, it physically hurt to smile at this man. Ain't that the truth? Those big boss types don't understand what makes guys like us tick. Sometimes we need to blow off steam. Toad started nodding but was so hammered he almost fell off his stool. The only thing keeping him from landing on his neck was Naruto's steady hand. Alright. Ya got it right, Blondie. I like ya. So gone to his drunken haze, Toad didn't even realize he almost ended up on his head, ignorance being bliss on this occasion. As Naruto contemplated his wasted time, a clear thought struck the drunkard. What came of it was the smartest thing Toad said thus far. Hick. Hey, ain't you gonna drink too? Naruto brushed off the strangely poignant question in favor of ushering another cheap bottle in front of the verdant criminal. The bottle service persisted when Naruto opened and poured another drink for a woozy Toad. Don't worry about me, buddy. I had 3 myself while you finish your share. You keep downing this stuff. You deserve it. I deserve it. The words from Naruto roused Toad, acting as a primer that left him repeating the slurred phrase to himself. Every time Toad repeated himself, he saw a new face laughing at him in the sudsy drinking glass. They always made fun of him. But did they do half the shit he did? Fuck no, they didn't. I deserve it. What he deserved was still up for debate, for now, a faux friendly hand on the shoulder made Naruto's remarks sound like solid advice. It was more kindness than Toad got from anyone else, and that's why he clung to it. Tell me about all the crap your boss is putting you through. It will help you out, you know. Get it off your chest and all that. Stiff reprimands from the past slowed Toad down, but not enough to shut him up. Yeah, a little won't hurt no one. Any hesitation he felt about being transparent were done and dusted by the time Toad hit the bottom of his mug. The robust humming of his heavy blood alcohol levels loosened Toad's tongue and broke the floodgates on every frustration the abused mutant had. Naruto lapsed in and out of focus as Toad babbled for 20 minutes straight. It was nothing substantial, but thankfully, the former shinobi's ears found something worthwhile. He was a few seconds from reaching his wit's end when Toad said, "What pisses me off is going 3 hours into the middle of nowhere. Why? Just for an in-person meeting? The shit the old dude tells us can be a message. It freaking blows up north. Fucking dumb." The skilled sage perked up like a dog as his encyclopedic brain rolled through its memory banks and put together a rough visual of where Toad was talking about. 3 hours north of here sounds like Albany to me. It's not exactly nowhere, but it isn't as nuts as NYC. These people must be doing something important out there. With what he came for accomplished, Naruto saw no value in continuing the charade. The words he let loose were an ominous warning to an inevitable future for the sleazy, crime-partaking vermin. "Have a nice night's sleep in your cell. It's on me, buddy." "Yeah, sure, wait, Wadash?" Realizing what Naruto said far too late, Toad barely had time to come to terms with what he heard. A well-struck chakra trap against the base of Toad's neck sent him spiraling into the dark realm of forced sleep. Naruto didn't feel guilty forcing Toad to hit the bar face first, but he bet the staff wouldn't be happy with all the drool from the mutant's agape mouth. "Call this number and have him transported to jail. When they ask how you got this number, tell them you got it from an angel. See you probably never." He produced and handed a slip of paper to the stunned bartender in one deft movement. He'd let Steve handle this bozo. They'd keep Toad tied up long enough for him to take care of business. 1. Albany, New York. Sitting alone in the hideout was a man with a playboy from the 60s. Try as he might, he couldn't keep himself from comparing the women he knew to the ones in the magazine. It wasn't even close. He liked the American women in the publication better. They were more filled out. The leisure viewing ended when the beeping from an oven stole his attention. The piercing ding sent the hungry fella racing into the next room. When he returned, he did so with a 4-cheese pizza, fresh from the oven. The cheesy cuisine forced an impatient rumble out of his belly. "I can't wait any longer. I need food, and I need it now." He spent a few seconds trying to cool the pizza down before he wolfed down his first of many bites. The haste of gluttony came back and bit him in the ass because the scalding cheese gave way to an equally hot layer of sauce, both of which burned at his sensitive taste buds. Fuh! Hot! 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 A set of grayish eyes clamped shut as part of a larger grimace. The slim man did his best to wave at his open mouth. Unfortunately, his futile attempt to spare himself the pain didn't get the impatient man far, and when those eyes opened, they were confused by the black knife flying toward them. He was allowed a moment to be baffled because the bladed weapon moved in slow motion, or that's how he perceived it. Speeding out of the way, he appeared behind the cloaked figure that threw the strange knife. "Weird clothes, you shouldn't be here." Somewhere in the background, the metal projectile just clattered off the ground. The man threw a sloppy punch with the expectation he'd land it, but that didn't happen this time. Instead, the pizza eater's clenched fist was driven knuckle first through the back of the plastic chair he left behind. He shook his hand until the chair wiggled free. "What? How'd they dodge it? No one matches my speed." Other people were just too slow to keep up. None of this made any sense. "HM? That ain't half bad. Even worse for the poor man." Naruto started eating the pizza he left sitting on the table. Growling through his teeth, the silver-haired man lowered his head and charged full speed. His idea was to use raw speed and tackle Naruto through the closest wall. Imagine the surprise when Naruto caught him in a side headlock, bleeding away his momentum without taking one step back. Naruto hoisted the silver speedster vertically and slammed him back first through the table, pizza and all. The impact of being put through a table left Naruto's target breathless. While he tried regaining his breath, the man looked up at Naruto's attire. It was little more than a dreary black robe, but seeing it black out Naruto's face put an instinctive dread in the man's heart. It was the same gear Naruto sported when he fought Kirigi of the Hand Clan. He dubbed it his Reaper mode. Thankfully for the wheezing man, Naruto hadn't deemed it necessary to use his soul-damaging weaponry. "Who the hell are you?" His strong accent was the first thing Naruto noted, but this observation didn't keep the top spot for long. "Wait, I read about this online somewhere. I should introduce myself and then ask for a name. That's how it works. I'm Petro Maximoff. Who are you?" In the direct aftermath of Pietro's introduction, there was a lull, one born by Naruto's attempts to understand what he was being told. As far as he was concerned, Petro Maximoff died in Sokovia, but at the same time, Naruto couldn't discount his eyes and ears. This guy in front of him bore a striking resemblance to the pictures Naruto had seen of Petro online. So what was he missing? Because the cloak blocked out his face, the narrowed suspicion in Naruto's eyes went unseen. Still skeptical, the former shinobi wasn't ready to buy what Petro was trying to sell him. No, that is impossible. Petro Maximoff died in Sokovia during the battle against Ultron. Who are you really? I'm Petro. Me, not someone else. This is who Petro Maximoff was meant to be. What would you know about me anyway, you freak? Naruto didn't need his empathetic abilities to feel the anger rolling off Petro. The seething man's raw emotion was too real to be an act. Unfortunately, this left Naruto with more questions than answers. Even when toned down to its lowest potency, the deathly aura around Naruto wasn't something to be underestimated. That's why the supposedly dead man stepped away from the danger in the room. Impossible. Petro Maximoff is dead. That means you're either an imposter or a clone. A shift in Pietro's heartbeat at the latter's mention told Naruto what he needed to know. Shut up. Resentment overpowered reason, and Petro threw another punch. Lashing out like this was a sadly familiar sight. When people in the know mentioned the C-word, Petro always responded like this. Too bad for him. Naruto caught his fist with frightening ease. Any warrior with pride in themselves would say that admitting defeat in the middle of battle was traitorous. However, every fiber of Pietro's being screamed run away, his pride included. The only way he survived to see another day was by running away. I have to get out of here. Petro became a silver blur of light. And still, the robed form of Naruto ended up in front of him. With his escape route gone, a cold sweat trickled down the back of the speedster's neck. Why is someone like you fighting for a madman? I don't fight for anyone but my father. The stubborn shout from Petro came out before the quick man in silver thought to stop it. Like a genie being released from its bottle, there was no going back now. That didn't stop the swift mutant from looking incredibly pale as he stared into the darkness of Naruto's hood. He hadn't meant to say that, but his anger just got the better of him. Naruto blinked once before the pieces clicked. The realization would stick with him for quite some time. You're the son of Magneto. Hold on, that meant Wanda was the daughter of the notorious mutant hardliner. Things just got 10 times more complicated. However, Naruto had enough training to keep a lid on his emotions until a more appropriate time to release them emerged. Listen, I will give you one chance to surrender. Do it peacefully. And I won't need to rough you up. Before the Maximoff scion could try talking himself out of a corner, the wall behind the two men got blasted down. The wave of debris and dust clouded the pair in a cloud of grime. Despite the ferocity of their combined coughing, both men heard the call of action as it was shouted through the breach. X-Men, move in!